Last night in Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City, Antifa, Black Lives Matter go crazy, blowing up things, burning down buildings, smashing windows, looting stores, rioting again, all over again now, just a few days away from the election. What triggered it? Who knows? Why couldn't they wait? Why couldn't they wait? What's going on? Why is the police department in Washington, D.C. under attack right now? Why are people looting? Why are people driving their cars through police lines? Twice.
Yeah, crazy.
Why are stores being looted? Why are people wheeling away washers and dryers on dollies out of Walmart? How many Walmarts do we need to loot until we've reached racial equality? Tim, Ian, these are the questions that are facing us tonight.
Thinking seven. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we just need to loot a few more Walmarts, maybe a Best Buy if those things even exist. Circuit City. Anybody ever heard of Circuit City?
Oh yeah.
Maybe they should loot a Blockbuster, and that will like close the loop on this entire thing. There's one left.
They did this really cool thing where they made a 90s style living room, and you could Airbnb it. And so there was like 90s era snacks and like a TV. It gave me a really good idea for a business where you create different era Airbnbs. Like you get like a warehouse or like a multi-unit building, and you got a 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010 style place. And then it's like you spend a night in a place. Imagine this. You go into like the 80s room, and the TV is on a loop, a 24-hour playlist of a bunch of different channels. You literally like see what's on MTV.
Nice.
Could you go to like the porn channel? It's blurry.
Remember
that? No. When you like didn't pay for it, it was all green and red.
Yeah.
Like
we would
blurred
have
lines.
You'd have actual snacks from that era.
Like combos.
Combos.
Combos are from the 90s.
What is it?
80s.
I have boxes of combos.
Yeah, we know.
There's-
We looked at them.
In the pantry downstairs. It looks
Gushers?
like a combos outlet store.
I thought I was buying 10 bags for the party. I bought 10 cases on accident.
Too many.
When I walked in the door here,
It's
that was the
like
first
hundreds of
thing.
bags.
The first thing I had to see was the combos for life.
Combos Castle, baby.
This is Combos Castle. That's what we're calling this place.
Yep.
now.
I hope enough people show up to eat them all.
Please.
I had half a bag.
They're
Be
good.
careful
He's
with
helping.
those.
The crackers
They
are
got,
filling.
they
It's
got
good.
lots of
It's
nasty
It's
stuff in
delicious.
there.
Perfect.
Stuff.
High quality
I-
food product.
Anyway, we had Jack just do that opening shout out because Jack got attacked by Antifa in his own neighborhood.
What?
And
Dude.
yeah, totally.
Dude, so I have been doing on the street reporting, right? In the riots in D.C., end of May, throughout June, a little bit in July, go downtown, watch and observe the looting, the arson, the vandalism, the destruction, the assaults on police officers.
Well, let's go through it.
We're going to go through it.
Yeah. I'll just do the normal intro plug and then we'll throw it right to you.
All right.
So subscribe, the notification bell. We're live. Hit the like button, all that stuff. Jack's doing the intro because Jack's the one who got to face down Antifa. and I will mention too, we had anti-fascist socialist Vosh just here the other day sitting in that very chair.
I can tell.
And you noticed there was a water bottle there.
Somebody left a pallet of water bottles here for him.
And you were like, you gave a water bottle to Antifa? It's their source of power, you know? Like,
Did you get hit in the head?
No, Vosh was all right. We did not. We had a long. It was like 4 hours.
That's what I heard.
But anyway, so we threw it to you to open because riots are breaking out right now.
Right now.
That's crazy. I mean, I just finished dinner and you show up and you're like, and the riots are happening now. I was like, wow, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's
So
kind of what happened to me.
So let's do this. So it's now the third night of the reignition of protests, and it's we got what is it? Washington D.C., New York, and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
East Coast wave. You live there.
Yeah.
They surrounded you. They attacked you. Tell me what happened, brother.
So just like you were eating dinner tonight and you didn't know the riots were going on, same thing happened to me last night. I'm just hanging out with my family. We're having dinner. I hear a helicopter overhead hanging really low. I go on Twitter, I check it out. Turns out that a Black Lives Matter protest riot had tried to lay siege to the 4th District Police Department in Washington, D.C. And so I'm eating dinner, I'm hearing the helicopters, I'm with my kids, I read Twitter real quick, and I'm like, oh my God, they're doing it again. And this time, walking distance from my neighborhood. Walking distance from my house. So I jump out. I'm like, guys, I'm out. I got to go. Kids are kind of used to this by now. Daddy's got to go to work. So I jump out and I run up to Georgia Avenue where the 4th District Police Department was. And I get there and there's already hundreds of riot cops out. I go up to the police station and they've already had bashed in numbers of windows on the first floor and the second floor. Apparently they attempted to sort of run in and take over the police department there. And things were kind of chilling out a little bit. And I was walking around and sort of filming. And I took a couple good pictures. And I was done filming. I was just standing there. And these like 4 Antifa kids, all in their black gear with their matching pink gas mask that they all ordered off the Antifa wish list that they have on Amazon.
Yeah, they do.
And they were like a little team. They come up to me and this guy's like, "This is our space. You have to leave."
Our space.
What? This is our space. You have to leave. And funny enough, I was actually just getting ready to go. But then when an Antifa guy comes up to me and tells me it's time to leave, what am I going to say? So all of a sudden I'm staying. I'm like, no, there's no way I'm going anywhere. And so they try to push me around for a little bit and bully me out of there. 2, 3, 4, 5 of them come up and I'm not going anywhere. And it kind of diffuses for a second. And I'm just hanging out a little bit more. And then they come up to me again. And then there's like a group of 4 and then 5 and then 6 and then 10. And then there's like 20 of them. And now I'm surrounded by Antifa. I'm surrounded by sort of Black Lives Matter type people. Just sort of random street thugs are there. And they circle and they circle me and they're screaming at me. They're saying, white people don't belong in this city. Get out of here. You're a gentrifier. And I tried to engage with them. I tried to have a conversation. I'm like, man, you got the wrong guy. I spent 10 years helping African-American kids in this city turn around public charter schools, trying to sort of explain, I'm like, hey, I'm here. And they're like, but whose side are you on? Whose side are you on? Whose side are you on, man? And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, gotta say nothing. If I say I'm on their side just to diffuse, it's gonna like start to rewire my own brain. This is the whole reason why they do struggle sessions. So I'm like, forget it. I don't say anything. More and more people come up, and I'm starting to get nervous at this point. And there's probably 20 or so people. I walk slowly towards the police line as they are pushing me, and there's probably 20 or 30 people at this point. There's individual young black men just staring me in the eyes with these like very angry, just intense eyes. They're just waiting to pounce on me. They're getting up in my face. I pull out my camera, I start to record, then the umbrellas come out. Right. So there's like umbrellas all around me, all in my face. You can see it on my video. If you go to Jack Murphy Live on Twitter, you can see the Periscope that I did last night. And you can hear the vile things that they're saying to me. White people, get out of here. You don't belong here. All kinds of nasty stuff. They're screaming at me to stop recording. This is our space. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. And then like another 4 or 5 guys show up that look like they were ready to go. Okay. And that's when I started to think, oh man, I'm actually in a little bit of trouble here. And right as the energy was peaking, right as it looked like I was probably about ready to get like literally jumped by 30 guys, I feel somebody grab me from behind. They grab my belt and they just yank me back like 20 feet.
Wait, hold on.
The cops.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'4", 250.
Exactly.
Okay, so they came up behind me, SWAT team, assault rifle, the whole thing. Sorry, guys, not an assault rifle. It's a rifle that looks like you're right. So they grabbed me by the belt and they yanked me through, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm back behind the police line. I'm like, oh God, I got my hands up. I'm like, I'm complying. And they were like, you got any weapons on you? No. And then they walked me back and they're like, dude, we just saved you. Like,
yeah, man.
They said that. They're like, yeah, it was about, you were about ready to get just jumped right then. And they saved me after I was protesting their protest. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm holding my ground. They kept saying, this is our city. I'm like, dude, I have lived here for 30 years. I live walking distance from here. My kids go to school in this city, and you're going to tell me it's not my town? And that's what this whole thing is, right? It's like, this is our space. This is our space. You can't be in our space. They don't live there. These little Antifa guys, I can see their eyes. And it's so weird when everybody has masks on, because you really can see their eyes, and you can see the intensity in their eyes, and you can see the anger and the seething rage. And the funny thing that I noticed is that when you refuse to bow to their intimidation, it just makes them so mad.
That's what they want. What they're looking for is they want to know that they've caused you pain.
Yep.
And if you don't experience pain or acknowledge it, because it's not just about being hurt. It's about them knowing they hurt you. They want you to be like, that was me. I did that.
Yep. They wanted to bully me out of my own town, out of my own city.
So when you said that it rewires your own brain to acknowledge that you're on there, that's so crazy.
It's true.
It is true.
It's true.
It's the whole point of the struggle sessions, is to get you to say things that you don't believe in, and then you start believing it.
What is a struggle session? I've never heard of this.
Oh, a struggle session. I believe it comes from communist China, where they went into the countryside and around, and they just gathered up everybody who wasn't, with the communist effort, and they made them, swear fealty and like do all these things. I'm not an expert on it. But I know that the intention there is to rewire your brain and break down your defenses by getting you to repeat things that A, you know are not true, and then B, that are in line with the authoritarian or totalitarian state that's trying to control you. And when I refused to do it, dude, they flipped. They thought that they were gonna bully me. Now, I had run into a guy that I knew from Twitter there, and he is much smaller than me, and we got separated, and he did get assaulted. He got headbutted and punched and chased out, and he ran the other way. Wow. I drifted towards the police, and I kind of knew the whole time the cops were there, right? So like I'm surrounded by all these people, and they're screaming at me and cussing at me and threatening me. I'm like, the police are right there. If they assault me, the cops will be on this, and it'll be just fine. And they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. But the cops surprised me when they grabbed me and just yanked me through. And all of a sudden, I'm on the other side of the police line. And that's when they all fought over there. Like, oh, he's a cop. He's a cop. He's a cop. I'm like,
yeah.
He's like, dude, I mean, I love my law enforcement officers and friends and family and all that. But like, I grew up not really being a big fan of police.
When someone who is over 6 feet tall and what you said 250?
Yep.
They automatically assume you must be a cop no matter what.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So there's also, I guess people are saying there's audio issues. I don't.
I'm trying to adjust, guys.
Literally had no idea how it just like instantly the
It's
other
so
day
weird,
just the audio just went
It was
dropped.
the cat.
And we're like, I have no idea what it
The
is.
cat pulled
Yeah,
it
it was
out,
the cat.
and then
I think the cat like jiggled a cord or something.
And
There was a really funny moment where the camera started shaking like crazy, and we were like, "Whoa, what's
What's going
happening?"
on?
And she was like scratching herself and hitting the camera.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
God.
the yeah, so there have been a bunch of instances. There were viral videos of like 3 guys who were wearing combat boots or like some kind of work boots, and then they got pointed out. This was like a big protest that happened in Toronto, and they were like, "Those guys are cops. This is proof." So there's tons of instances where regular-looking guys who might wear. I mean, let me stop for a second. You know how in DC everybody wears the same kind of North Face stuff?
Yeah.
It's like anybody who knows DC knows what I'm talking about. You go to these, like wherever you go, everyone's wearing North Face jackets and khakis, and it's like the same outfit or the same style.
Yeah.
They'll see someone like that and think they clearly aren't one of us. You're a cop. You're a cop. You don't fit in. And it's like a regular dude like eating, nachos at a Mexican restaurant, and they start screaming, "You're a cop." Like
Yeah.
you were at a restaurant. Is that what you're doing?
No, I was at home. This is
you were at home.
how close it was to me. Is that
Yeah.
I heard the cop chopper.
Copter?
Cop chopper.
Can we edit that out
No,
somehow?
I love it.
The cop chopper.
We're keeping it.
Cop chopper.
The police helicopter hovering basically over my house. And when I saw that there was this happening right in my neighborhood, I just jumped up. I literally left my dinner on the table and I had to go.
I gotta bring it back to the intro. So why are they out there?
In Washington, D.C. in particular, it was because of this one incident where a black kid was on a moped without a helmet. The cops saw him, flipped on the lights because it's illegal. And instead of talking to the cops, he sped off on the moped. So now he's like a fugitive running away from the cops. So the cops chased him. And as they're chasing him, he gets hit by another car.
Whoa.
A third car.
Oh,
and he ends
snap.
up dying, right?
When?
They blame the cops for that.
This is like 2 or 3 nights ago. Yeah, they blame the cops for that. And it's a tragedy. It sucks when somebody gets killed, obviously, but if the guy just would have stood there, he would have been fine. It's not the police fault. So instead they use this. It doesn't matter what the reason is. Mm-hmm. They're always just looking for any reason to rile people up. And so when I was there, I noticed it was just sort of like regular townsfolk, let's say. And then the Black Lives Matter banner showed up. And then the Antifa crew showed up. And then you could just tell like the medics were there. And then all of a sudden you could tell that they had like rallied the troops to come all the way uptown. This is not downtown. This is not by the main protest zone. This is not by the White House. This is not where any really of this has been going on, which is why I was so incensed. I had actually decided to leave the street reporting up to fearless people like Shelby Talcott and Elijah Schaefer.
DC Riot Squad.
Yeah, they do a tremendous job, and they're out there, but they have a little bit of a different demo than I do. I've got 3 kids and a family and the whole thing, and it's like I have to stop putting myself in danger like that. But this was in my neighborhood.
Elijah Schaefer got punched in the face.
Oh, he got bloodied up yesterday.
Yeah, man. We had Elijah on the show, what was it, a month ago?
A few weeks ago, yeah.
A few weeks ago?
No, more than that.
More than that. It was like a month ago.
2 at least.
So he's another one of these dudes who goes out there and does his reporting. And I saw a video where he was like, his face was swollen and he was bleeding and he was still reporting.
Dude,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm like, geez, dude, go to the hospital, get some stitches.
Yeah, he's
He mentioned
hardcore.
it.
He's hardcore. I think he's having fun doing that.
For sure
Yeah.
he is, yeah.
I'd have never met him, but like the vibe I get when he posts the pictures and the tweets about him getting beat up or punched or whatever, I get the sense that it doesn't bother
You know,
him too
Doesn't
much.
mind.
there's
Yeah.
there's this thing I heard about firefighters who wish for fires.
Wow.
It's true though, because so my dad was a firefighter, and he explained to me that some people get this thing where they get depressed when they're not doing something. Like their job is to help people and save lives, and then they go weeks with like no fire or no real calls, and they feel useless. So they start wishing for fires, like inside in their own minds. Like, I want that fire. I want to run in. And that's a scary thought, because they're like, they want the destruction, but because it reminds me of like the dogs on 9/11. You know about the dogs on 9/11?
No.
They would have to bury themselves and then have the dogs find them, because the dogs were getting demoralized by not finding the bodies.
Oh, wow.
So they would have to pretend to do it to give the dog, like, because it's a feeling everybody gets when they feel like they're not doing anything, not helping, not being useful.
Yeah, Tim,
So-
I can relate to this story. One of the reasons why I stopped going out on the street as much is because I found myself hoping that something terrible would happen, and that's a bad feeling. Like I didn't like it. I don't want to hope that ever. Right. So I would go out, and if nothing bad happened, I would say publicly, like, oh, this is great. Thank God nothing bad happened. But in my mind, I'm like, hey, I'm coming out here to work.
Right.
Like, where is it? You know?
Journalism-
And I didn't like that feeling at all.
Journalism in general is a tough job, because if bad stuff doesn't happen, what's the news? Like, good news
Right.
doesn't really
It's not
fly.
bleeding. It's not bleeding.
Unfortunately.
Dude, have you guys seen Bruce Almighty?
No.
No.
You've not seen it?
Well,
I
with the
think I saw
movie?
a little
Old
bit.
The movie, Bruce Almighty.
Yeah.
So where Jim Carrey is a local news reporter, and they're like, go do the cookie story, the world's biggest cookie. And he's like, come on, man. And he really wants to be an anchor. And so the movie is basically, he's complaining about life. He blames God for everything. So God, Morgan Freeman, grants him the powers of God and says, you be God. And then what does he do? He starts making like meteors crash into the earth. They find Jimmy Hoffa's grave or whatever. He's making all of this crazy sensational news that he's right there for. He falsely frames his rival news team for having a bunch of pot in their car, and they get arrested by the feds. Like,
It's
totally
probably the Russians.
super
Definitely.
brutal. But like, I think that's I know it's a fictional movie, but it's a play on an idea we know. They call him Mr. Exclusive, because he was finding all of those big breaking news stories of shocking explosions and drug busts. So yeah, if it bleeds, it leads. Bad news doesn't sell.
The movie Nightcrawler was like that, too.
Dude, that movie's
Yeah.
so
Jake
good.
Gyllenhaal.
Hardcore.
Have you seen Nightcrawler?
I haven't. I have some pop culture deficiencies. I'll admit that.
Me
But
too.
Nightcrawler is a movie for anybody who agrees with Trump on fake news. If you've seen Trump say the fake news and you're like, that's right, go watch Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe there's not more like lefties who are like, that movie is awful. That making journalists look like sociopaths. Because the dude in the
Yeah.
movie,
Jake's great.
it's so good, dude. Long story short, I don't want to ruin the movie. It's about a sociopath who figures out he can make money selling. If it bleeds, it leads. So take that.
Basically all of them.
Dude, it's such a good movie, man. Because it's not like he's a murderer or anything. Kind of. You
Kind
got to
of,
see the movie.
yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for people, but it's
So good.
He's legit trying to, like, I don't want to ruin the movie.
Don't ruin it.
But journalists who want to make the story happen, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, they know.
Well, I mean, you have every incentive in the world to make that happen. Fame, power, money, reputation, career, stability. I mean, if that's how you make your money, then of course you're going to want to see that happen.
Fortunately, the cops and the firemen don't get paid for crime and fires necessarily. Cops do have a quota. Quotas are very weird. Like, you got to find the guys that break the law, or you're going to get in trouble with your department. So they're out there making it happen.
They claim
almost.
there's no quotas, right? They say over and over again there's no
I
quotas.
think some departments have them and some don't.
But
I don't
dude-
know.
No, but the stats have to be good.
Right. And in Chicago, everybody always knew, be careful driving at the end of the month.
Yep.
That's what everyone would always say. So it's kind of like, is it one of those myths or whatever? But you know, we are kind of getting off. We were talking about Antifa, and I really want to focus on this because
Yes.
5 days to an election.
Yes.
Can't believe it.
I have to wonder if, like, this next part is a joke, okay? Because I know people are going to freak out.
I'm freaking out.
That a bunch of Trump supporters dressed up like Antifa, like, this is how you get Trump elected in PA. I'm joking, okay? The point is, though, Donald Trump is doing rally in Pennsylvania. Vote for me. And he's going, suburban women, love me. You have to love me. I've done so much for you. It's actually funny. They criticize him for it, but he's half joking. Like, he really does need their vote, but he's just, like, you know, hamming it up. But there's only so much rallies can do. You got Western Pennsylvania, fracking country. Joe Biden sealed the deal on that when he was like, yeah. And he's like, we're going to transition out of oil. Yes. And then the moderator's like, why would you do that?
What?
Like almost like she was facepalming that he said it, not that he would actually want to do it.
She goes, why would you say that?
Exactly. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
But how do you get Eastern Pennsylvania? Riots erupt in Philadelphia 3 nights in a row. People are looting, Five Below, Walmart. They're like, you see the video where the cars are just like crashing into each other and like TVs are flying through the air.
Yeah.
It's like, so they're in the parking lot of the Walmart and people are just running away with stuff. And then like someone's got like a TV in the middle of the road, a car hits it, it just flips over the car and they're like crashing into each other. It was nuts.
Yeah, and even a guy like loaded up his truck full of looted material and then he got robbed for his car full
Oh my
of looted
God.
They're
material.
looting the looters.
Yeah,
Yes.
and apparently they were shooting each other too
Whoa,
and
not
fighting
cool.
over it. Yeah,
Bro.
I think Shelby and Elijah were there with shots fired, and so it's just criminals doing criminal stuff.
Yo, in DC, is it federal? So it's federal, right? Are they sending out the feds to take
No.
care of that?
Dude,
No.
if you get activist organizations warn protesters, you get arrested protesting in D.C., those are federal charges. They're very, very hard to beat, and the penalties are severe. Whereas state, city jurisdictions, sometimes you get a slap on the wrist, not the feds. They prosecute.
What is the name of that legal fund that's always bailing out those Antifa guys? They were down on the scene last night too, and I think that's what happened. They saw me streaming the Antifa guys because I was streaming the cops and stuff, but then I saw the legal aid, hacks.
National Lawyers Guild.
That's it, National Lawyers Guild.
Progressive organization.
They were on the ground there, and that's part of the support ecosystem
Yep.
that enables people to go to jail and have lawyers and bail, and that way they can get arrested with impunity.
I'll tell you what, man. During Occupy, things were different, and there's a weird authoritarian switch that occurred. I remember I was on, I can't remember what street it was, maybe like 12th or something. It was in New York. It was like the Lower East Side, and there was a National Lawyers Guild lawyer who had just witnessed an arrest. We were standing on the sidewalk, and he starts. I'm standing here on the corner, and he starts walking through the crosswalk, not jaywalking, and he's on his phone. And he's looking at cops as they're making an arrest, and he starts reporting to his colleagues, and a bunch of cops run up and grab him and throw him against a car. His phone goes flying, and I'm filming. I'm like, whoa, what the? And then he's like, what are you doing? I'm a lawyer. And they were like, shut up. And they cuff him, they arrest him. And then I actually had a phone call like, what happened? Why did they arrest him? Like, he literally wasn't doing anything, man. It was a lawyer on this. So I see things like that. I've seen things where the National Lawyers Guild has done good in stopping things like this. But something changed. And I remember when I was in Boston, it was 2018, and there was Antifa, and there were right-wing protesters. The Antifa guys had clubs. They were wearing black masks, full blackout gear with clubs and bats. And there was the National Lawyers Guild standing at their side. And then across from them was a bunch of guys with like Pepe signs and shields. And I asked the National Lawyers Guild, I was like, hey, how come you guys are only on one side? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, why aren't you guys observing for those guys? And they were like, I don't understand. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I tweeted about it, and then a bunch of lefties, they were like, Tim Pool's defending the fascists. And I'm like, the National Lawyers Guild said their mission was to observe the police, not counter protests.
Right.
I thought they were there to make sure that people were peacefully, legally allowed to protest, and that includes the left and the right. No, it wasn't. It was about supporting progressive causes. And now that the conflict isn't about police versus protester, it's like left and right tribe or whatever. National Lawyers Guild is overtly tribalist and will not help you in defending your rights. They won't, like, was anyone there when you were getting attacked? Any of these NLG guys?
No, nobody.
They're not going to.
Luckily, the police were there though.
Because I'd imagine they're going to be like, oh, we're not going to film this. We don't observe this because then we got to testify against them.
Right. There were a number of people filming and taking pictures. I haven't seen any of them surface just yet, and I would like to see them. I was standing there surrounded by like 30 people. Just like that would probably be a good pick. I'd like to see it. So if you were that guy last night, send it out. Hit me up on Twitter, Jack Murphy Live, or on my YouTube channel, Jack Murphy Live. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys there as well.
Excellent.
So you think the riots are going to... Well, so as I was saying about Pennsylvania, I don't know exactly if you can turn a city red. You know, I don't know what would make something like that happen. But I imagine, I don't know if you remember that video where the Christopher Columbus statue was getting attacked. And so all of these like middle-aged and younger dudes, like union guys, came out and surrounded it and got physical, like shoving Antifa. Some guys had bats, some guys had guns, and they were like, get out of here. Then the city came and took the statue away anyway. I can only imagine. These are probably Union Democrat guys in Philadelphia, 80% Democrat city. Now they're taking your statue down. You tried to defend. Now they're rioting, and it's not just in like downtown. I think they call it Center City. It's spread around all over the place, and the videos are nuts. I got to imagine there's a certain part of these like regular working class union guys who are Democrats who are probably going, I've had enough of this man. And I wonder if it's gonna be a big push for Trump.
I mean, they did make a big part up of the 9 million Democrats as deplorable voters in 2016. I'm hoping that trend is going to continue. It's very clear to see that the Republican Party is becoming sort of the party of men.
Right.
And the Democratic Party is
Hold
becoming
on.
the party of women and minorities.
I gotta stop you there though. There's something really interesting I saw. I was looking at early voting data in I think it was Michigan. The most of the votes that have come in so far early and absentee lean GOP. The plurality is GOP voters and women.
Nice.
That was weird to me. I was like, wait. The majority of returned ballots and early voting came from women, and it was a plurality was women. No, a majority, and then the plurality was Republicans, meaning there's an uptick in Republican women who are voting.
Awesome.
And they're helping get that push. So that's...
I've always said that it's the party of masculine men and the women who love them. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's
true.
You got to have that's that caveat, right?
Dude, how weird is it that that's true? That so millennial women are like 70% Democrat. That's Pew Research. 68% of millennial women are Democrats. And then among men, it's slightly conservative, but pretty even.
Yeah, well, that's by design. So in the late 60s, the Democrats decided to jettison the white working male from their efforts in terms of recruiting people. And they specifically set out a strategy to court the disaffected. They used words that we wouldn't use today about homosexual people and about minority folks and about just all of the other factions.
Who was the dude who ran against Nixon in his reelection? McGovern, and he got obliterated.
Yeah.
He was that guy who wanted to do the coalition of progressives, of like white college educated elites and minorities, and he got annihilated in a 49 state landslide. Is that going to happen?
Man, that would be
it's
amazing,
too close. Biden's
but I
pulling too
doubt it. I don't really know what's going to happen. In fact, I got to admit, I'm getting a little jittery. I mean, either way, everything will be,
You said Nixon and McGovern, is that right? He also did a 49, and so did Reagan. He had a
Reagan
49. Okay.
And I think Reagan was for similar reasons too. They tried doing a big progressive push, and regular people recoiled.
That's what Biden's doing. It's so
Mondale.
cringy.
Here's the crazy thing.
Mondale.
We're looking at early voting data, right? And it's like right now at nationally, I think it's like 4 points up Democrat. What if those Democrat voted Republican? You know what I mean? It's probably wishful thinking to be like, oh, the polls are wrong and the Democrats are actually voting for Republicans. No. Democrats are probably up. We expected this. And Republicans, surprisingly, are doing really well in Ohio and Wisconsin and Michigan. They're leading in those 3 states. So I think there's a scenario where, could you imagine if we do 269 to 269 Biden in the Electoral College?
Oh my gosh.
It would go to House delegations. Trump would win. It's not going to be this hardcore deadlock, but that would be so on point for 2020. You know what I mean?
well, I mean, either way, unless it's a clear landslide in either direction, it's going to feel like 269 to 269 the way it's going to be drawn out. I think we all need to prepare for that. Like, save your adrenal system, save your dopamine surges, save your stressing out. I really don't think that there's going to be like a decisive factor on the 3rd, although I would greatly welcome it in our favor.
Seriously.
We're going to have this big election night party. So
What?
Yeah, we still got,
What?
and what we're going to do is we're just going to stream the whole night, and people are going to come in and out. Whoever wants to hop on the stream and be like, yo, what's going on? And I'll probably be downstairs hanging out with people. I'll come up periodically, and we'll have a bunch of people do that. But I'm wondering, like, at what point do we turn the stream off? Because it's going to be like 4 a.m. and they're going to be like, we have no idea what happened.
2 a.m.
2 a.m. is
Yeah, I think so.
when they end everything?
No, that should be
No,
when
but
we
there's not
stop.
going to be results because
That's okay.
I think Pennsylvania is not doing their results until the 10th or whatever.
Yeah, and I found out. So I have someone who voted in Colorado, and so they got their ballot back, and they're like, something's wrong with your signature. All right, cool. I'm glad you're checking out my signature. You can vote again on the 12th. Like, you can just go
Wait,
in
what?
until the 12th. Remember? We were
You can
talking
go
about this?
in on the 12th?
So you can go on the 12th, and they'll set your signature correct as late as the 12th of November. And I was like, there's no way this is going to be done by November
Well,
3rd.
unless like they can map out. So a lot of people are saying, and I literally just said it, Pennsylvania is not going to know their results until the 10th or whatever because of late ballots. But they can actually look at registered voters and likely voters. They can model out and be like, there's literally no way any amount of votes will change the results of this county. They always do that.
Yeah,
So
that's what
why-
happens every time.
Exactly. We see the 89. There's some places where it's like 37 precincts reporting landslide because it's a guarantee. There's no amount of votes they could get with the remaining precincts to win.
Right.
So we might actually just see that. We might, on election night, it might be, landslide Joe Biden.
That's not why I was.
Just my.
I know.
not
I
why I was
saw
crossing
you
my
cross
fingers.
your fingers. So I said Biden instead.
That'd
no.
be cool. I would welcome a landslide.
I would too.
Just to get it over with. I don't want.
fair.
I don't want to sit around for 2 weeks. Not for Biden,
Dude, did you-
obviously. I just want
this
want
is-
it to end on the 3rd so we can move on.
Yeah, it's not. It's not going to end, man. So the media has become addicted to culture war. Everyone has, and when you have billion-dollar corporations that are like, what do we do when the orange man is gone? They're going to start looking for villains to write about.
It'll be Kanye.
Yes.
Maybe, yeah, yep, and Joe Rogan for sure, and comedians. And what did Robert Reich say? Truth and Reconciliation Commissions.
Dude, we got to have him on the show or
No,
something. That
I mean,
guy's-
well, I'll tell you
No.
what. Sure, like I'm willing to have anybody on. Well, not anybody. There. Someone asked me on Twitter, like, are there limits? And I was like, yeah, like physical safety and people have to be relevant to the conversation. So he is. Sure, I'd have him on. But he's like Truth and
I know,
Reconciliation.
it's so weird.
Yeah, you know what they're gonna do is they're gonna no platform, deplatform, and cancel people. So we all end up with no technology, no bank accounts. Like, oh, nobody wants to work with you because you're one of those.
I heard a very scary bit of speculation that the reason that they selected Kamala Harris was so that she could be the
Kamala.
chief. Sorry, what else? Kay Harris.
Kay Harris. Miss Harris.
So that she could be the prosecutor in chief of the Truth and Reconciliation effort.
I don't
Which
know,
actually
man.
makes pretty good sense. I mean,
She's
there's
awful.
one thing she can do, right?
So they're gonna like rendition people. Mm-hmm. It's like
Yeah, why not?
That
Dude,
makes me angry. That
someone-
makes me want to riot. Not
So
much
have-
stuff makes me want to riot.
Have you guys have all seen V for Vendetta?
Yeah.
You know the scene where Creedy comes in and knocks out Stephen Fry, and then he like drags him away. Like it would be fun to make like a GIF where it's Kamala Harris as Creedy, and then like Stephen Fry's Alex Jones. He gets black bagged and like taken
Oh,
away.
by the way, he was on Rogan. Did you guys see Tim Dillon and was it Tim Dillon?
I didn't see.
and
I saw that he
Rogan?
did it,
Yeah.
and the left is going after him like hardcore.
Oh, I haven't seen. I only watched a few
Dude,
minutes.
these people don't know why they're mad at Alex Jones. They really have no idea.
He's funny. He's a comedian.
Sandy Hook.
You know
Yeah.
what? Check this out though. I thought of
first,
something. I was thinking of something really interesting. I did a segment on this. There was recently Jacobin magazine, which I'm sure you guys. It's a
Tim Dillon.
socialist magazine. First, I want to say my respects to Jacobin. They've done repeated articles defending free speech, arguing that if they give in to restrictions on fascist speech, the government will go after them next. And I'm like, yes, exactly. And so they said like they called it like the anti-fascist hate speech boomerang was an article they wrote where they basically said we cannot give in to these demands to censor speech because they're going to come for us. So I respect that. They did a show. It got censored on Facebook. And one of the hosts of that show was on the Young Turks. So while I'll give my respects to Jacobin for defending free speech because they understand how important it is for a movement like theirs especially, the host they had from the Young Turks was in favor of censoring Alex Jones. And so I thought about something. I was like, how many decades of content does Alex Jones have?
Right.
Like three
Yeah.
decades. And that means he's probably got, out of those decades of work he's done, how many hours of content?
60,000.
Well, he didn't work literally.
10,000 was my first guess.
It's probably a really ridiculously huge number, right? How many videos did he have on YouTube? How many subscribers? Because he said one thing, he's gone forever. And every bit of speech he ever said, think about how insane that is. That you could talk for 30 years and then say, and also this. Oh, there it is. Get him. And they delete literally everything you've ever said. Not just the things you're saying now, everything you've ever said. That's crazy. And here's what's really crazy about it? The stuff that Jones was saying, as reprehensible as it was, for sure, was like, 7 years before they went after him? It was from a long time ago.
The Sandy Hook thing.
Yeah, it was from a long time ago.
2013
Well,
or something.
you remember the incident involved Oliver Darcy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. It was about Alex Jones confronting him in the halls of the Capitol building and basically being a dickhead and like cornering him and intimidating him. And believe me, Oliver Darcy, if you're watching, there's no love lost here.
Right.
I met Oliver years ago back at Business Insider when he was there, and he was trying
And
to
he was writing favorable articles
he was
about
trying to be all chummy with us MAGA crew in DC and showing up at all the events. Him and Rosie Gray and Andrew Morantz, and they all just turned.
You know that Oliver Darcy interviewed me when the alt-right got banned, and I said, slippery slope, we can't just ban people for bad opinions. And he wrote an article about it. And he was like, renowned journalist or whatever warns of the coming censorship. He was at Business Insider. Then he got hired by CNN. And, rosy-cheeked Oliver Darcy walked in with a smile on his face, like looking up at the big building and all the floors. And he was like, I finally made it. And that's when Jeff Zucker jumped out of the shadows and latched onto his back and sunk his teeth into his neck. And Oliver went, ah, and then turned into a fake news zombie.
That's exactly right. They turned him into the schoolyard snitch.
Yeah.
He's got to be like the most hated of all of those people from that time. And he's really sort of sold himself on that. But anyway, that was for Alex Jones. He got banned off of Twitter for what he did outside of Twitter.
That's so crazy.
But it was years before. And it's like, the main issue I see is if you say one wrong thing years ago and we decide now that was wrong, we eliminate everything you've ever said from the record.
Now, working at Minds and banning accounts and being in charge of that kind of thing, I was of the ilk that if an account violated the terms, I don't care who the human is using that account is nuked. I'm not going after the person. If the person makes a new account, it's fine. They violated terms with that account is gone. It's not the person. And that's where cancel culture comes from.
The problem I'm seeing, as I think about what happened with Alex Jones, and so anyway, the gist of it was that, one of the Young Turks people on the show was like, I'm glad Alex Jones can't harass people. And I'm like, so you're okay with him having literally every bit of his work removed and annihilated because he did this one wrong thing? And I guess he did it a couple times. I'm not, I think what he did was wrong for sure, reprehensible. And you tell him, hey, that thing you did, don't do it again. Okay? No, they didn't. I think he remained on Facebook for a while, and then they were just waiting to press the nuke button, give him any excuse, and then they went for it. So it really was not about just that one thing he said. It was a political move. They didn't like this guy. He had too much influence, and he says crazy stuff. So they were like, he's a problem, to get rid of him and find any excuse to do it.
The funny thing about I watched maybe the first half hour of the Joe Rogan show with him, and Alex starts to say something that seems all crazy, and Joe's like, no, hold on. What you need is a fact checker. Let's fact check this one. Come on, we're going to fact check this.
Lydia.
Jamie, bring it up. Bring it up.
And Jones was right.
And they brought it up, and he's reading it, and he's like,
snap. Holy crap,
snap.
you're right.
Yeah.
Do you know what he was saying, though?
Yeah, he said that corporations were making payments to sub-level, lower-level staff members in the Trump organization because Trump is uncorruptible. He's not beholden to lobbyists. He's not beholden to corporations. And so that he was saying that corporations were going towards people in his orbit and below him in order to get influence. And the example, he's like, yeah, AT&T paid people, millions of dollars just to get access. And they're like, whoa, hold on a second. And they pull it up. USA Today, I think, is what it was. And
this is
snap.
This is the thing. It's low information individuals with power who don't know what they're talking about and getting mad about it. The other day when we had Vosh on, he mentioned that I got into conspiracy realm stuff. And he mentioned, you said if Joe Biden gets elected, they're going to come to your house. They're going to change definitions. And I was like, they've done both of those things already. I didn't say, here's my prediction of the future. I said, here's what they've already done. If Joe Biden gets elected, it locks that in. It exacerbates the problem.
His argument was because it happened doesn't mean that something's going to trigger it to happen again.
He didn't say that.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. If a toilet exploded in someone's house and you say, hey, if that guy gets elected, there's going to be exploding toilets.
He said that after I said those things already happened. And then he went, oh, well, just because. His initial argument was he didn't know people have already gone to several houses. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, which people? And then I was like, the McCloskeys for one. He's like, oh, okay. So clearly.
I want to go more into that too. How many more people?
I really do think one of the biggest issues between left and right is the sources we consume. Mm-hmm. But it is a fact that the right knows what the left is thinking. The left does not know what the right is thinking. Yep. The best example of this is when the hashtag Proud Boys went viral. And it was a bunch of gay men kissing, and they were like, "Take that, Proud Boys!" And then Enrique posted Milo and Gavin making out. What are you talking about? What do you think this is?
Somebody once took the graphics for Liminal Order, and they made it in rainbow flag, and they tried to make it out like this was being mean to me. They made it look like it was the gay flag. All right,
they don't know who you are.
Right.
You've repeatedly said that. The Republican Party accepting gay marriage was what allowed you to be like, okay, I can go in this direction.
Yeah.
Socially accepting.
Absolutely. And just piggybacking off your idea there that the left does not know what the right is thinking, but the right does know what the left is thinking. I have made a terrible mistake. I have re-engaged with my old friends on Facebook in this election season. And it was a big mistake. It's a big mistake. There's no question. And I just had it totally reconfirmed to me when I'm trying to explain to them sort of their thought process, because I know it. Like, I've studied critical race theory, I've studied radical feminism, I've studied intersectionality. I know how it works. I know their sort of Kafka traps. I know their intellectual, framework, if you can call it that. And I'm explaining it to them, and they don't even know. They're just all foot soldiers that have been sort of co-opted by Black Lives Matter, Antifa, etc. And they think they're doing a good thing. They're like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, of course, Black lives, of course. But they don't understand what the system is that they're in. And it's just, I try to engage with them. It's not possible. And I have this hope. I have this naive notion that in like 5 years, when maybe everything just completely falls apart and everybody suffers the traumatic experience they need in order to rethink their worldview, that one of them at least is just going to be like, oh, that Jack, he was right.
Yeah, they will.
No, I don't know about that.
They come out.
They're never going to do it. Never.
The interesting thing we were talking about earlier when you mentioned rewiring in your brain is that people do trainings where they tell you to tell yourself things to do that.
Yeah.
And so you think about these people who are watching TV and they say Black Lives Matter everywhere. It becomes, they have no idea what it is, but they just adhere to it. And when you challenge it, you threaten their worldview.
Yep.
So I think a lot of the reason we see like Antifa getting crazy and foaming at the mouth and like, Black Lives Matter, because they are righteous and just. They don't know why, but they've said it over and over and over again, and it's in their being. And so when you are opposition, when you are the other, you are the evil villain destroying the world. And they have no idea why. You ask them, they couldn't tell you. I've tried.
When it comes to Black Lives Matter,
yeah, I know, me too.
I feel like there's 3 strata of the way that people interact or interface with that movement. One is like the ideological one, where it's like, why is Black Lives Matter? Why does it exist? And this is kind of what Vosh was kind of hinting at that last night. It's a class issue thing that's caused this thing to erupt. Then there's the people that are like in it and using it as a business and profiting from it in a lot of ways. And then there's like the foot soldiers who are like, yeah, Black lives are great, so I follow it. They don't know anything about it.
Right.
But that's most people. Like I have friends and family that are posting things like, it is not enough to be not racist. You must be actively anti-racist. And I was like, what does that mean? And they can't give me an answer. I once did this really thoughtful post about the problems of leftist identitarianism and critical race theory, and tried explaining to them using their own words and language. And they just said, F off, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, we're in the tribe. The tribe is good. You say bad, you bad.
I have pity. For them because I do believe that they're possessed. In like a spiritual demon way, maybe. But they're possessed by an idea. I think it was Jordan Peterson that said that people don't have ideas have people.
Yes.
And these people, these ideas got these people, right? And it's really, it makes me sad when I can see people that I know are otherwise decent, good humans that are just acting in a way that I know if they really understood that they would change their mind because they are good, decent people. And this is sort of the mission. And I see a path to redemption for them, but they don't see a path to redemption for me. And just to finish up on the suffering sessions or
struggle
sessions, copter chapters. Think about it in reverse. You visualize success. You tell yourself success. You say it over and over again. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be great at that. I am this. I am this thing I want to become. Because you can rewire your brain using your self-talk and the things you say. So you can do it in the other direction. They said, raise the fist. That's the thing that stood out to me is the guy, the intensity, nose up in here, coughing their Corona all over me. Going, whose side are you on? Say it. And when I wouldn't, it's just like, they just explode inside their heads. It's awful for them.
Think about this. You got a nice beanie there, good sir. There's a symbol on that beanie. What is that symbol?
That symbol is the logo for the Liminal Order, my all men's organization, national, 300 members.
You've got a national organization, and I take it a lot of people often want to join, and you get like, you put the word out, and then people hit you up.
3,000 people on the waiting list.
Imagine if you had mainstream dominant culture promoting the ideology for you, and you needed only walk up and say, you think Black Lives Matter, right? Okay, well, then join my organization.
Slick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine you, all of us as critical thinkers, and the people watching, who would challenge what we're told and be like, let me check on that first. And that's a big thing about the internet. There's a lot of people who consume news are actively looking for it, as opposed to mainstream media, which is they're sitting there absorbing it. Mm-hmm. So you're more likely to find people who know more about specific things. They're seeking it out. Now imagine You've got half the people who are just absorbing information, have no idea, never challenged. It's true. It was on the TV. If you want to use them for your advantage and your power, well, if you go up to them and say, Black Lives Matter is, out of control identitarianism, and while I can understand the core complaints, and I can agree police brutality is bad and we respect these lives, the movement has its problems. Now, join me. They're going to be like, screw you. What are you, racist?
Right.
If you go up to them and say, you want to join a Black Lives Matter group, right? You're not racist, are you? Then, yeah, you're right, yes. Because dominant culture told them to.
Are you?
Yep.
You're not racist,
Not at all.
The issue is you've got this person, right? And they see you walk up to them and you say, give me your money and your time and your energy. And they say, why should I do that? And then you say, look around you. You're not a racist, are you? And they see signs everywhere, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And they're like, I don't want to be an other. I don't want to be an other here. Whatever you want from me, please. Just don't ostracize me. So I think a big component of a lot of whatever, like this moderate space, intellectual space, whatever you want to call it, or a bunch of just, rebellious morons, if that's apt. I think it's just an issue of people who are self-sufficient to a certain degree, not too concerned about being ostracized. I would rather live on my feet than die on my knees. Amen. Versus people who would rather live on their knees than die.
Yeah. I'm comfortable being the other. That's how it's always been my life. I've always been contrarian, counterculture. That's just where I feel more comfortable. But on this issue of passive versus intentional learning or understanding, we in the Liminal Order have come up with a name. We didn't determine this name, but we've determined that it's an essential tool in this world. It's called sense making. And sense making is intentional understanding. And part of intentional understanding is a desire to want to actually make sense of the world. And B, it's also an internal process where you have to understand your emotional triggers, understand what states you are in that lead to emotional triggers and irrational behavior. And it's a process by which you learn how to control your emotions, your emotional triggers, your physical integrity in order to increase your ability to discern between right and wrong, good and bad, so that you can be an intentional understander and do this art of sense making. So if you want to be an independent, sovereign person in an information war space, which is where we are, and the information battlefield is deliberately polluted at all times, if you want to maintain your sense of personal sovereignty, you have to develop this skill of sense making. And that's one of the things we do in the Liminal Order because we think it's vital. It's like a life skill at this point.
Well, we get on the other side willful ignorance,
Yeah.
which is kind of like the other end of the spectrum of that. People who just choose to be swimming in bliss.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss, man.
I mean, there is some truth to that.
Dude, it must feel good,
right,
to be morally righteous and wield righteous indignation, watching down the street with a bunch of people telling you and patting you on the back how right you are and how smart you are, knowing that all the corporations support you and the government supports you and you are on the right side of history, and that throwing that brick, just crunching into that face of the other, the evil, yeah, they love it. It feels good to them. They're attacking symbols to make themselves feel good, and they get pat on the back for it. So it's funny because they often talk about right-wing love bombs. Have you guys heard about what right-wing love bombs are?
I have not.
The idea is that someone will go on social media, and this is what the left calls it, which says a lot about the left, and you'll get a person, and they'll say something like, I think Donald Trump is just not that bad. And immediately all the Trumpsters are like, you're so cool, you're so smart, that's so rational, so reasonable. It feels good. You're getting all this love and attention. And so then you go, oh, I think he's actually cool. And then they're like, oh, that's even better. You're so much smarter than we thought. And then you're like, he's actually the best. And they're like, oh, you are so amazing.
You're the best.
The left does the opposite. They hate bomb. Like that's their strategy, hate bombing. You go on and you say, I think Donald Trump isn't that bad. Why are you a bigot? What's wrong with you, racist? You better get on your knees. Some people are coerced by that. Some people are recruited by that saying, I don't like the way this feels. They're being mean to me. No. I agree with you. You're right. Please don't be mean anymore. And now they're angry. They're forced into this. They don't understand. They're just mad. And it reminds me kind of like hazing, right? So why do people at colleges or high schools haze freshmen, newcomers? They went through it. Now it's my turn, right?
has to build a shared experience and a common language.
I mean, some
and
of
a
this
common
hazing,
background.
dude.
Demean them to a-
So, but like hurting people, making them drink themselves to death, or have sex with animals, or whatever. That stuff's whack. That stuff's whack. I mean, like the stuff you hear about. in horror
Look,
stories, cops
making
getting-
somebody, strip down to their boxers and jump in a potato sack is one thing.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like there was one thing that happened in Illinois where they all like took a dump. All these women took a dump in a dumpster and then made like the women like put it over their heads or something. Like just really weird,
humiliation,
like
Yeah.
serious
established power
But
hierarchy.
what was happening was that every time someone got hazed in an extreme way, it traumatized and made them angry. So then they wanted to repeat it and feel
Same thing
that
with
power.
beating kids. I mean, that's a lot about child abuse and the cycle of abuse. That's kind of what we're in
Yeah.
right now. It's like feels like a political cycle of abuse.
These Antifa people, in my opinion, feel like they've been abused, and now they want to feel good being the abuser, and they don't care who they take it out on. Small business owners, random people, living in the neighborhood.
Buildings.
You look at what happened, journalists, reporters, whatever they can justify. And on the other side, this is the funny thing. We had Vosh there the other day. He did make a good point, but the point wasn't, I think, what he thought it was. He said that the left doesn't have the kind of fervent militia or like far right support of their leaders that the right does. So like on the right, there are right wing militia groups. There are groups like the Proud Boys that are overtly like yelling Trump and cheering and jumping up and down. Antifa does not like Joe Biden. They want Joe Biden because Joe Biden will capitulate to them in some capacity, but they despise him. So that's a good point.
as they should.
But that also means that if Trump came out and was like, stop, then they'd be like, okay. Whereas Antifa goes, shut your mouth, Biden. And they go around smashing and destroying things again. So the left does have its violent apparatus, rage and anger. And it's the ideology that's fueling a lot of the anger is supported by all the mainstream corporations and all these institutions and colleges. And I mean, just to put it bluntly, I think all that just gets worse under Biden. Or at the very least, it's empowered their ideology.
Well, it's not only supported by the institutions and corporations and academia and whatever, but by the municipalities themselves. When you've got the mayors of Washington, D.C. and New York City painting Black Lives Matter on the street, changing street names to Black Lives Matter Plaza like they did
That's
in Washington, D.C.
1984, dude.
It's
dude.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They named that street, it's 16th and H in Washington, D.C., right across from Lafayette Square in the White House. They named it Black Lives Matter Plaza because just a few nights ago, there was a riot there, and they destroyed the buildings and set the churches on fire, hit the cops with bricks, chased people around and were violent, and like they celebrated it by naming the street after them.
You see what happened to that NYPD officer who yelled Trump 2020?
Did he get
Suspended.
disciplined? Yeah.
Suspended, no pay. Meanwhile, the officers who took a knee were cheered and praised.
Right.
Morality policing. When your police departments literally show the symbol of the ideology, and then you oppress the officers who say anything in the other direction or any other,
There's something to dictators and the power of like benevolent, like Athens was founded by a benevolent dictator. And it's not, the word has taken a new connotation where we think of modern dictators as like strong men that control through military force. But the idea of dictating, speaking, orators, they're like Obama was a dictator. He spoke a lot. He was very eloquent. Trump is a dictator. He gives 2-hour speeches. Biden's a very failed. He's not able to dictate, and dictators rally crowds. You can call it now an orator.
Yeah.
The word's kind of morphed into now orator, and having a great one that can empower and become a leader, and a good one, if you are benevolent, can tell people like stand down, be kind.
Trump knows how to speak to his base.
No, Trump knows how to speak to anybody if he so chooses. He's a code switcher. He's an incredible communicator. You catch him in these like off moments where he's being very sociable and fun. Remember, everybody loved Donald Trump in 2014.
Yep.
What did Obama say about?
I didn't.
What did Obama?
Was that the birth certificate era?
No, forget about that.
That
I'm
I
just
didn't
saying,
like.
leading up
Remember,
to that.
correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Obama say the American dream is to beat Donald Trump?
No,
I'll
probably.
have to
Was
look
that-
up.
makes sense?
yeah,
Let
can
me
you
check.
Google that?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
Google
can
it.
we
that
get a
might be
fact
a-
check on that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got the
that
same
might just be
email.
a fake meme that people push around because it sounds good for Trump. But I mean, people did
I
want to be Trump.
I thought he was a clown when he was going on about Obama's birth certificate.
Yeah, potentially.
Oh, I mean, that was so ridiculous for sure.
But everybody,
He was like
everybody watched The Apprentice.
I remember when the birth certificate, when the birth certificate thing was coming out, people were like, if you load the birth certificate into Photoshop, it creates layers. And I'm like, does it mean anything? But then you have people like analyzing the video on YouTube and like, it's fake. And I'm like, do you really think if Barack Obama was going to fake it, he would forget to export properly? It's just, come on, dude. I
mean, if you put like pictures of you smoking crack and doing other terrible things on a laptop, would you just like leave it at a repair shop somewhere?
It's worse than it's guys. It's worse.
Yes.
It's worse.
Guys.
It's worse.
Ready for this?
It's so bad.
This is so exciting.
breaking?
I love it. No,
From SF Gate. In law school, Obama co-wrote a paper referring to Trump as the American dream.
Booyah. That's what's up.
Born in the money.
Obama officially endorses Donald Trump
Wow.
as the American dream.
Wow.
That's funny.
That's amazing.
I
I had not heard that. I
Very
can't
important.
believe I hadn't heard that until
Yeah.
now.
When Barack Obama was in Harvard Law School, he once alluded to businessman Donald Trump as representing the American dream.
Boom.
That's from SF Gate.
Done.
Certified news
I
guard.
kind of disagree though, because
source.
he was born into money. Isn't the dream coming from nothing and building like an empire?
Oh, these details.
Well, there's a lot of things you can talk about. How about his grandfather started the business, right?
as far as I know.
Yeah.
And
business?
so isn't part of the American dream creating
Your family, yeah.
making your family and your children better off?
Heck yeah, man.
And now the American dream for a lot of people is what people don't realize about the American dream. When these migrants come here and they cram their whole family in a studio apartment, 5 people, and the dad is working 16-hour days, that's the American dream. That is the American dream. The dream that you could leave a country with no upward mobility, with class repression and dictatorship, come here, cram your entire family into a tiny, awful living space, work 16 hours a day, and then your kid gets a better job. Then they start a family and they get to be a part of that wealthy American dream.
People come here for capitalism. They
Yeah.
don't come here
Correct,
for
sir.
socialism. Jeez Louise, people. Can we get this straight?
I do love the meme where it's like, how come no one's fleeing to Venezuela?
Yeah.
And the only real excuse you could typically get from socialists is, well, the United States caused those problems, and it's just like,
Oh, get lost.
it's like you're telling me your solution is a magic, like your problem is with a magic wand. A nebulous statement doesn't mean anything. Prove to me that the failed state of Venezuela was caused by American influence.
I thought it was the sanctions that put too much pressure on their government and they couldn't, it just broke their economy. But
Why can't they support themselves with their own economy?
I don't know
Why aren't
much
they energy independent? Why aren't they able to grow their
they're
own food?
small and they're like a jungle
They
country.
were the
Oh,
wealthiest
they sit
country.
on like a giant
do.
pile of oil.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but if you
dude.
can't extract it. It's no.
Why can't they extract
They don't have the
Boom, yeah.
technology.
No, that's not true, dude.
know.
They
They're
I could be
socialists, dude.
I could be wrong. So maybe
I can fact test this too.
My understanding has been a long time. It's been 6 years since I went there. Was that they
Yes.
nationalized the oil industry so that we can share all the profits. Here's the good news: the people of Venezuela pay like ridiculously low costs for gasoline. It's like really, really cheap, and they can't trade or do anything else.
Because OPEC won't buy their oil. Is that what it is? And
Oh, of course.
unless they
OPEC
take
will.
OPEC money.
Yeah, they
they're not-
nationalized 1976.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
called
yeah.
PDVSA.
and they won't. They take the Bolivar. Wait, no, that's not
Bolivar Fuerte now, I think.
Oh, is it?
I don't know. They keep changing it.
Because
Yeah.
they got to slice,
'Cause one of-
slice off like 8 zeros.
One of the ways OPEC bullies countries with their oil is they make them sell their oil in U.S. dollars.
Right,
And if they
yes.
won't bow to that, then they like ostracise them. They'll put sanctions on the country and be like, take our money or.
So what's
or-
stopping the
I'm
country
not sure
from?
that's exactly right, but okay.
Well, the international oil trade is in U.S. dollars.
correct.
It's the
But I don't
petrodollar, yeah.
think that that's OPEC's decision.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot more than just OPEC. I don't think it's OPEC's decision. It's probably you'd be better off saying, I don't know, IMF or something.
Jeez, how deep does it go? The Bank
Well,
for
international-
settlements.
Yeah.
EIS.
So I put it this way. I mean, there's no reason, whether there's sanctions or not, a country should fall into absolute chaos or whatever, because that implies that other countries just magically have the ability to be successful and grow their own food on their own. And for some reason, this country can't do it. You know what I mean?
Well, U.S. is very unique that it has such a landmass that it can grow crops and has oil and has uranium. I think.
But that doesn't
in it.
explain why Venezuela has like 12 jobs in one cell phone store, right? So when I went to Venezuela, this is the easiest anecdote I can give to people. It's like, what's wrong with the country? I wanted to buy a cell phone. It was like 6 people. In the United States, when you buy a cell phone, you walk into T-Mobile and the lady walks up to you and she's like, how can I help you? I'd like that phone. She's like, okay, let me go grab it from the back. She walks out, hands to you. It's this much a month. Here's how much it costs. And you go, awesome. And you sign the thing. And then she types the things in. Then she puts SIM card in. She calls. Boom, you got a cell phone. Yeah, so good. You know what it was like in Venezuela? I walked at the counter. I had a translator, and they showed me a list of all their phones, and I said this phone, and then they gave me a piece of paper and sent me to acquisitions. Then I went upstairs and went to someone, showed it to them. They said, okay, and then they went and came back with the phone. Then they pointed me gave me a slip, pointed me to planning. Then I went to another guy and he showed me the plans. Then I picked a plan. Then he wrote a piece of paper, gave me this.
Sounds like the DMV, dude.
Yeah,
it does.
I'm not kidding.
Awful.
Isn't
I was
that horrible?
laughing. It took 2 hours. It took 2 hours for me to get a phone. And then the last thing was the SIM card. And then finally it was the payment. And the dude who was with me, I was laughing and he was like, it's crazy, right? Because the government mandated these jobs. Everything slowed to a crawl and breaks. And you have people working jobs that don't do anything but reduce efficiency. And so like he's explaining to me, because the government has to mandate jobs because of socialism, they just figure out ways to make people work in some way, even if it doesn't help. And so what they did was, okay, everyone's got a job now, even though your job literally makes the thing harder to do.
One of the Federal Reserve's goals is to give everyone jobs, even if it means one guy's digging a hole, the other guy's filling the hole back up. They want them working so they're not focused on, the debt machine that wants interest.
Well, that's too much. Like the Federal Reserve does a lot of things, but to say that they're trying to do that, Venezuela is literally a socialist government that had to figure out how to put everyone to work.
It's whenever they're like jobs, I'm going to bring jobs back, jobs. Like what kind of job? A crappy job that is a guy digging a hole and the other guy's job is fill it?
Yeah,
like,
but what's a real example?
A job
of
to
that?
go murder people in another country? Like what's your job? Jobs doesn't mean it's good. There could be bad jobs that we need to get rid of.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest problems we have is that we have a bunch of jobs that are intermediaries that don't do anything,
Or that do damage.
Yeah, I think we're getting to a point where there are a lot of jobs that are remnants of, a bygone era, for instance. Like, I don't want to call out anyone's job specifically. I don't want to drag anybody over their job that I might think is obsolete. But there's a lot of jobs that have been made obsolete by the internet, by kiosks, for instance, fast food and stuff.
Yeah, so when you have a market-based economy that responds to price signals set by buyers and sellers, then we allocate our resources efficiently. That's why we like our system, because we are generally moving towards efficiency. Even if we're not 100% efficient, we're moving towards efficiency. I wanted to back up a second, though, talk about these empathy triggers that we were talking about earlier.
Empathy trigger?
We were talking about the way that they create these tribes, right? The tribes of the other and the good and the bad, and the way that people absorb information and then believe something without understanding it. It's because we're being sorted now into tribes based on empathetic triggers. So think about it. You see a video, and one person, if you're in this tribe, you feel a certain way about, George Floyd and the knee on the neck or whatever, or you see a video of somebody coming out of a store with loot in their hand, and you get an emotional trigger. If you believe in Black Lives Matter and all this thing, and you see somebody looting, you're like, yeah, man, just destroy, get it, whatever. But if you're on the right side, you see that and you just feel immediately like rage. And so we're just being bombarded constantly with these images that are supposed to elicit this emotional response out of us that's like deeper than our voice or our speaking or our self-talk, right? It's empathy is in dogs and animals and chickens and whatever. It's in us too. It predates language. So we can communicate with each other through empathetic triggers. And that's what's happening with social media, with the videos, with the internet. And we're all being completely sorted based on our empathetic responses to the same kind of images. And that's why it also triggers this hate as well. And there's just no reasoning behind it. You can't reason people out of it when they're responding on a level that's like below language.
Oh, yeah. Reason breaks down after you're taking empathy.
Well, when you get angry, you don't think logically. So there was I was reading the story once about, it was like a U.S. naval vessel that was sank, and all the soldiers, or sailors fled to the life rafts. And then one guy, everyone's freaking out. He pulled out a service weapon, dismantled it, took out all the bullets, and then gave everyone a part and said, shut up, we're going to rebuild this. And then everyone was confused, and he's like, shut up, we're rebuilding it, go. And then they had to piece it together. And that was a survival training to put people back in a logical state of mind, to get them out of the rage, the panic mode. So then they start thinking, I have to wait for my name to be called. So it puts them in a systematic. That allowed them to think clearly and rationally, come up with a plan, and survive longer.
That's very smart. That's actually a fantastic stress
like
management tool right there. But
assigning everybody a piece, saying how to call your name.
Giving people jobs.
Kind of does.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah, it does.
So, okay, if our...
People love jobs,
I want
man.
to keep talking about what you're talking about, but I want to talk about, say this real quick, that if, like in the Matrix, it looks like if we were automating jobs away and it's going to like, what is our job now? Talking into a camera or whatever. And then in the future, like, what's your job? Just using the heat that your body produces to create electricity. And then they put them in tanks and you're just plugged in.
That was so dumb, by the way.
Yeah, but that was like their job became just to produce heat, their body.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe that is our ultimate jobs.
Well, I mean, look, to be fair, that dude, I forgot his name in the Matrix, who wants to go back in.
Right, the guy with the steak and the red wine
Yeah,
and the red
yeah,
dress.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
He's like, just put the red dress.
Cypher.
Cypher, yeah. He's like, you know, what did
Joey Pantalone.
Exactly.
What was the joke he said? You know why everything tastes like chicken? Because the machines never had real meat before, so they just make everything taste like chicken. Something like that. But I empathize with that idea that he's just put me in the machine where I just generate heat and get to live a normal life. You know, what's the point of being flushed out into the nether world of, you know, weird robots and eating sludge and stuff? For me, I'm all about freedom, though.
I was going to say, where would you go? I've already established that I'm comfortable being other and counterculture, and I like to resist the mainstream sort of themes. Would you want to be in the Matrix, or would you want to be in the spaceship trying to find Zion and save the world and free everybody from the Matrix? Where would you be? Red wine, red dress, red steak?
No.
I'll tell you what, man. You know, the best part about getting out of the Matrix is you can control your own virtual realities if you're outside of it. So the people who were in it were doting about normal lives with limited control, but it was like calming, I guess. Because that was one of the points the Smith made in the Matrix, that they gave humans paradise and humans rejected it because it was not normal. But the people who leave the Matrix can have that thing go into their heads or whatever, and then they can create their own little virtual world. So it's kind of like, hey, I'll tell you what, man, you get to go out. Life's not easy. I'm okay with life not being easy. But then you get really awesome breaks where you can learn Kung Fu instantly and stuff. I got to show everyone this comic.
Oh, snap.
He's a guy, and he's got it's a packet of, it says silica gel, do not eat. And he goes, those silica gel industry big shots can't tell me what to do. And then he eats it. The next one is him with like a cap on with electrodes, and he's like shocked. And there's two doctors, and one says, congratulations, you've escaped the simulation. Welcome to the real world.
Don't eat silica gel.
Don't do it.
Tide Pods,
Industry
silica gel.
big shots can't tell me what to do.
Now, going back to empathy triggers.
Yes.
I think social media and these algorithms are
Yes.
exacerbating that corralling.
Definitely, 100%, and it's gone beyond political networking. It's gone beyond emergent political networks, but like Hong Kong or Chile or France or whatever. Now we're moving into tribes.
Bro, it's the aliens.
Do you think so? Because if our brains
No,
are
I'm
receivers,
kidding,
check
dude.
this out. You know, your brain's like a bunch of neurons of electricity that's very sensitive to other electricity. And, you know, what if something's beaming something to our
No.
brains? Like, if obviously the sun's beaming light to us, but what if there's the galactic core or something, or some more
The Galactic
intelligent
Federation.
vibration is like interacting with our brain, and they're more like radio transmitters that are they're tuned in to the right frequency and then behaving the way that and so when
And
you're
that's why
writing
some
information and your brain is like growing, you're actually writing a new tuning shape that's receiving different information.
That's just wildly speculative. It's like
course.
the joke I was making was like,
Of course, yeah.
you're talking about how we're being corralled, and I was just like sheep.
Yes.
We're being corralled like sheep. Like someone is, you know, they got a stick and they're flapping it, and there's like a dog running around and barking at us, and we're going, ah, and we're all running into little corrals where we're being neatly tribalized. But what's also happening, talking about empathy triggers, it's interesting. People who are likely to get angry, people who are likely to get sad, people who are likely to get angry at X, people who are likely to get angry at Y, are all being put in bubbles that can be mapped out. So these data networks are really interesting, where they do visualizations of Twitter, and you'll see Democrats and Republicans, and like Republicans smaller but like really tightly packed, meaning they agree more with each other, and the Democrats are very spread out. And so what happens is, it's like you were saying, you show someone a picture of, you know, George Floyd, some people react X, some people react Y, and they all immediately cluster. And now we've strengthened the borders around the different types of people. the different emotional reactions, all neatly packaged and quantified. The joke I was making was that aliens are shepherding us. I don't think.
But
aliens
why
are
would
shepherding us.
we be doing that to ourselves?
Accidentally?
We're not smart.
It's an
guys.
Is there
accident.
such a thing as an accident?
Well,
Yeah.
well. The systems evolved to do whatever we thought they were going to do. We created this social media network. DARPA started on it. Whatever. We got here, but now it's like emergent phenomenon. You know, people figure out something that works, and then people repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So in a way, we are doing it to ourselves on purpose. And then the meme makers, the meme magicians, the people that control narrative, they are definitely doing it on purpose. Okay, 100%.
Well, so I've been thinking about.
That's what we're doing.
Especially, right, for sure. So, like, my main channel is, like, typically Democrats are doing this, and I don't like them for these reasons. But, you know, I've thought long and hard. I'm like, first of all, I do think there's criticism towards me, same as any other partisan who's producing content because they're focused on something they don't like. But what I think it is, it's not that I'm making things up. No. The Democrats are doing screwed up things. Nancy Pelosi got Republicans to cave on the COVID relief bill. And even Jake Tapper and Wolf Blitzer were like, why won't you say yes? But why is Nancy Pelosi refusing to say yes? For tribal reasons, where she's like, but Trump did this. I'm not going to let him win on this. So then I see that and I go, harumph. Then she gets mad. And so there's a back and forth where arguably, you know, different pockets of other tribes are morally justified in certain things, and then people are getting outraged at the other. You know what I mean? It's a tit for tat. It's a never-ending cycle of. But you did screw us over on COVID relief. I am mad about that. Republicans didn't do that, and then Nancy Pelosi does something, but the tribalists defend her and ignore what she's doing because they're more mad about Donald Trump and his reaction to COVID, and so then they complain about Trump and COVID. You see how like this machine keeps churning?
Yeah, and the influencers, the people that are driving this, I like to consider them, and I got this from John Robb, who is a networks analyst and a special forces guy. Wrote a great book, Brave New War. You should check it out. And he and I have had a lot of conversations, and one of the things we've come to the conclusion is that the influencers, the leaders, were narrative curators, right? So like information is everywhere and ubiquitous. In fact, there's so much of it we don't want it. There's too much information, and it's completely irrational to think that individuals are going to be able to sort through all that information and figure out what's what. So an easier, more efficient way of sorting people and getting people into place is through these empathetic triggers. And then the people that can control the large groups, they're the ones that can curate these empathetic triggers and curate narrative in a way that causes people to coalesce. And once you control the narrative and can control these empathetic triggers, you can literally control masses of people, millions of people, mobs in the street, go to war, vote for this guy, change the country, go that direction. It sounds so silly. Remember 2016, people are like, oh, I survived the meme war. I'm a meme war veteran. Yeah, right. It seems so silly then, but actually, if you think about it now, it's actually very, very apt.
I believe it is fair to say that 4chan memed Trump into the presidency. I'm
so.
not kidding. Yeah. I'm not saying they got him every single vote, but they got Trump votes.
The Pepe picture with Trump's hair was really cute.
There were funny things that would pop up that someone would see, and then someone else would laugh and be like, make your own, laugh, join the fun. And people were laughing and sharing memes, and it probably got a bunch of people who are like probably mid to late 20s who are like, you know what, I like what I'm hearing, I like what I'm seeing, this is fun, it's fun, I'm having a good time. And those memes swung opinions.
Definitely.
Swung votes.
I mean, you know as well as I do, and you had Alum Bakari here, he knows as well too that, I mean, dude,
magic.
There is a connection between Gamergate, 4chan, the issues on 4chan, people coming onto Twitter, all these people who are on 4chan coming onto Twitter finally, the whole Gamergate fiasco, and literally that was the trajectory that sort of led to the meme magic that brought Trump into power.
I was talking to somebody, a friend of mine, about the split, like the tribal cultural warfare stuff, and she was telling me, if we bring people together, we can end this, and I was like, I hate to be pessimistic, but I don't think you can bridge that divide anymore. But the split happened, in the late 2000s. What ends up happening is, it's like I was saying, I'll see them do something and say, I'm sick of this. I think the Republicans are bad, but can you believe what the Democrats are doing? Like, especially COVID relief is so important. They're blaming Mitch McConnell. Oh, I'll criticize Mitch McConnell for adjourning the Senate until the 9th. I think they should have done something, but the problem was Nancy Pelosi would not accept them constantly giving her what she wanted. So if you go all the way back in time, Gamergate stuff before that, how did this Gamergate happen? It was a gradual tit for tat. Tribes were slowly forming, And then I've mentioned this several times. CGP Grey has a great video called "This Video Will Make You Angry." Explains how the memes and the arguments are not made. So he's like, consider it like one side are butterflies and one side are flowers. They actually help each other become more angry and extreme in their views. Because what happens is one side, they all argue with each other about the other side. So you have both sides festering and bouncing ideas around about each other and never actually crossing over and talking to each other. So that just makes the divide get crazier and crazier and crazier. And then every day people say them, and complain about them. And everybody's doing it. And everybody feels justified in doing it, myself included.
Yeah. And if you remember, people that have transitions like myself and others that went Democrat to deplorable on Amazon.com, if you have a transition, usually it's because of some sort of traumatic experience that happens to you. Something so bad has to happen that you are willing to let go of your ego attachment to your mental framework, and you're willing to reconsider a different perspective. And what I am concerned about right now, and I've just witnessed it by dipping my toe back into Facebook and talking to my old normie friends, is that what traumatic experience is going to happen to them in order to have them shake free of their ego attachment to this mental framework that's been inserted into their brain. Unfortunately, if it's not an individual instance, it's going to have to be a national instance. And man, who knows what that's going to be or when it's going to happen.
You can bridge the divide, alien invasion.
I talked about that with
probably not,
John Robb, but some of us are going to want to just nuke them, nuke them in orbit.
Yeah.
Nuke them in orbit. Or some of them are going to welcome them. Others are going to think, we'll be divided then too.
You know what I think it'll be? The aliens will be, they'll have some kind of ideology called, Glorbobism. And Americans are going to be like, we welcome the aliens, but they got to assimilate if they want to come here. And the left is going to be like, they come with wonderful technology across the stars. I think we can hear out their idea, and be welcome. It's always going to be the same things.
I thought there was a moment that COVID was going to be the aliens that brought us together back in the end of February, early March.
Unite us against China.
That lasted for 4 seconds.
Hominids evolved. Homo sapien is new relatively. We used to be all kind of different hominid.
I think it's like 40,000 years or something.
And then we annihilated the other hominids. So
even the other Homo sapiens.
Yeah. Neanderthals, Homo florensis. We just killed
Homo sapien was a sub.
There's
subset,
7 other Homo sapien out there. I think that they died off.
So if we don't bridge the gap, I think that part of us are going to evolve and then hopefully not annihilate the old ones, but potentially.
This is an interesting argument about who would ultimately win in a major conflict, the collectivists or the individualists. And there's a good argument for the collectivists.
You think?
Absolutely.
But they've lost every single time so far.
AI.
It's tough. I don't know.
Well, you have to come together.
That's why I said there's a good argument, not a definitive.
Well, right.
Position.
But fighting for other people or fighting for yourself, which happens to benefit other people, is a very powerful difference and a very powerful distinction.
So why is Antifa allowed to continue this reign of terror?
Oh, well, that's easy because people love the destruction, that they love the distraction. They want to be able to blame Donald Trump for bad things.
They've got allies that act in concert and protect each other. Whereas, so the media is absolutely defending Antifa and Black Lives Matter rioters. Now, journalists will talk about the riots for sure, but there are major components of, say, like the New York Times that will justify it. There's the book In Defense of Looting. They have powerful media allies. And the thing is, the really simple way to put it is, when I say that journalists will cover the riots, those journalists are allied with the activist journalists who defend Antifa overtly, not with conservative media. Mm-hmm. So there was a story I was reading earlier from San Antonio Express, I think it was, about Project Veritas's expose on the voter fraud stuff. And the whole thing was just ridiculously poisoned well. Veritas released a heavily edited video. They've been accused of deceiving and running smear campaigns. Before they even told you what they saw, they were making sure you hated Veritas. That is mainstream media allied with the activists. If a conservative outlet publishes news, mainstream establishment media typically says, go F yourself. That's the power of collectivism. So conservatives do have their collective. It's true. There's like interesting moments where conservatives form collectives, and we're seeing rallies for Trump and stuff like that.
But what's interesting now is there are things that look like collective behavior that are really just emergent phenomenon and emergent networks that have people who have temporarily, momentarily aligned interests, and therefore they're willing to work in concert with other people in order to achieve this goal that they have in common. And once the goal dissipates, then the alliance dissipates.
The goal moves.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Yep. Talk about. I think
That's why they're not for free speech anymore. That's why it was the left protesting the World Trade Organization, the battle in Seattle, and now they're in favor of international trade. That's why the Democrats used to say we need to regulate, and now you've got all these Democrats saying, "But my private platform." Their tribe just said we're going to realign in this direction, and it's funny because it was a tit for tat. Republicans have a real reason to want Section 230 reform on big tech, because their constituents are getting banned for saying innocuous things like learn to code. So the Democrats then must take the immediate opposite reaction of, but my private platform. No, we should agree on this.
Yeah.
But no, it's always about being the other, and the goal moves.
Well, if we want to throw out one major criticism of Donald Trump, is that he did not move quickly or with enough strength or with enough force to actually protect the people that helped him get elected over social media in 2016, 2015, etc. And it's a little too little, a little too late. It's because the rest of the senators are all taken by corporate interests, moneyed interests. Nobody really, really wants to implement antitrust. No one really wants to crack down on the corporations. They're all getting money from him. And if Trump had actually been smarter about this earlier on, then it would have actually helped him quite a bit.
Trump could have done one thing. He could have just signed up for Minds. But I mean it.
Yeah.
I was with Bill Ottman, co-founder, along with Ian, of Minds.
Co-founder of Minds? I had no idea. I'm on Minds.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So I was with Bill. We went to the White House. It was a social media summit.
Oh, yeah.
And someone said, will you sign up for an alternate platform? And Trump said, which one? And a bunch of people started saying things. And it's like, well, I don't care what it is. I say Minds, Ian's in the room. Gab, Parler.
But they're not free software. They are also alternate.
What I'm
free
saying,
software is a big deal.
All I'm saying is, if Trump right now posted something saber rattling, oh, those Russians are in China, and he put it on Minds, the media would be forced to report about it. And then all of a sudden, it would be massive press for a new platform that would attract massive user bases, and it would offset the monopoly held by these other, what is it called, the big three, I guess?
Facebook,
Big Five or whatever?
Twitter, and YouTube.
Google.
Oh, Google.
Is it Google? YouTube,
Twitter, Facebook.
The big social networks. So Trump could snap his fingers and just totally, Twitter was dying before Trump came. Twitter was losing users. They didn't know what they were going to do. And then Trump came along, and then Trump started tweeting, and they loved it.
Yeah.
And it was great, and started bringing all these people to Twitter. And that actually, to be fair, that's the one thing I think Trump inadvertently has to take. I will, what's the right way to phrase this? It's not his fault personally, but the action did lead to the mass tribalization through Twitter and the fighting and all this stuff. Like, if Twitter just went away, we'd be a lot better off. But now we've created this, this battlefield for the culture war, which is Twitter, and people are mean on purpose to earn points. I can say the nastiest thing, I get retweets, I get likes. People like it when I'm nasty. Ooh, and everyone does it. Anyway, I digress. Trump could just sign up for any one of these things, and it would have just totally shut down the bias. If Trump said, Twitter just censored a bunch of my supporters, so I'm going to go sign up and exclusively post on this platform, Twitter would be like, no, we're going to reinstate them. Please, we're dying. Twitter's stock was tanking. It was totally tanking years ago. And if Trump just said, I will leave right now and go post here, Twitter would have been like, we're so sorry, Donald. We're going to unban. It was a mistake. All of these people, Milo and Alex Jones, are welcome back on the platform. And we're just trying to protect speech. It would have happened.
That makes me think that, part of the Trump phenomenon was him just getting on the right wave at the right time. It's like a balance. Is it really just, is he like a super genius and he was able to like make all this happen? Or was he just perfectly crafted to ride the wave at the right time? Because this is a major issue that could have been resolved.
He's not the cause of, and I've said it a lot. He's a symptom of the existing cultural, the growing culture or whatever it is. And a lot of people, PC was a big issue for a lot of Trump supporters. When I traveled around in 2015 and 16, I went to a Trump rally, and I think it was Janesville, Wisconsin. Maybe it was just near Janesville. And I talked to some young guys, early 20s, late teenagers. and they were Trump supporters. And I said, what brings you out here? And they were like, the PC culture stuff is just getting crazy. These are guys who grew up on South Park and Family Guy, man. They make really offensive jokes about, you know, Jewish people and gay people and black people. That's like, we were all raised on this kind of really offensive humor. Yeah. The Family Guy, I could be wrong about this story, but I remember one of the reasons for their cancellation was that they had an episode called When You Wish Upon a Weinstein. And it was Peter finds like, he tracks on a Jewish guy, and then it says, I need help with my accounting. And he's like, how did you know that I'm an accountant? And then he makes a joke. So so I don't know if that's why they got canceled, but it was like a lost episode and they brought it back. You got these young guys who grew up on that. And so that leads them to supporting Trump. The memes, the offensive jokes, all that stuff. Interestingly, same rally, the older working class guys who are like mid to late 40s were saying factories, trade deals. And I even met some of these guys who were pro Bernie before, you know, Bernie got knocked out, and then they went to Trump.
Yep. Yeah. I did a survey, and 90% of people that voted for Donald Trump in this survey cited one reason as a response to political correctness. You know, that's not a myth. That's a real thing. And it's about people feeling stifled and not able to just be who they are, just be crass or just make jokes or whatever. It was a big deal for people. It still is.
So this is interesting because so long as you have Trump, who is the S poster in chief, and he can say bombastic stuff, then we can be ourselves because we're not nearly as crazy as Trump is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When Trump goes up there and he says all this, you know, stuff, you know that your worst is not as bad as Trump has been at certain points. Like when he called Rosie O'Donnell fat pig. He's been a lot better.
He's the foil in like liturgy. He would be the foil.
He's actually gotten a lot better. I remember
the heel.
At a rally recently, he was like, I'm not going to say it because they're going to get mad at me if I do. And I was like, there he goes. He's trying to tone it down a little bit.
Speaking of people feeling, what word did you use? Not oppressed, but stifled, and not wanting to feel stifled. He wants to open up the economy, and Biden wants to keep it shut down. Talking about stifling people. So
right. That's a good point. This is why I bring up the PC stuff and what he was saying because now cancel culture is worse than ever. Like
worse.
It's worse than
the
ever.
worst I've ever seen it in my life.
Yeah. Like what they're going
So
after
weird.
Joe Rogan right now because he had Alex Jones on.
Dude, they should let Milo back onto Twitter. What the?
Milo was a troublemaker.
Tirade.
He was a troublemaker.
Yeah,
he lost. For sure.
Ban his account if he violated, but let him make a new account. What the?
Yeah.
I was missing Milo the other day, so I dug up an old post I remembered of his, and I tweeted it out. It was titled like an update on my fame or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just him talking about how he has like 300,000 followers and this many YouTube views and da-da-da-da-da. But it really was a thoughtful piece on about why independent media is very important. And it's not Milo that they're concerned about. He even said it is the people that come after Milo that they're really worried about, people that are free, emboldened, able to speak their mind, rabble-rousers, troublemakers, etc. And this piece just cracked me up. So I dug it up from like 2016, tweeted it out the other day, and all the people that were with me from back then, they remember the nostalgia of the Milo Twitter days, which you know, that's when I got on board
Golden
Twitter.
days,
Really,
man.
it really was. You know, it was fun.
It really was.
YouTube in 2006 was crazy. Before Google bought them, you could say anything.
Dude, the bulletin board system I had in 1986. Now that was badass.
lit, yeah.
We had 2 lines people could call in at the same time. It was amazing.
Wow, dude.
9600 baud, bro.
Oh,
BBS. What year was that,
anything.
dude?
I mean, it was like
90.
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s.
Wow.
It was oh, sorry to interrupt.
No, go
oh, yeah.
ahead.
YouTube encouraged the anti-war movement in 2000. Like, they were so on board. Chad Hurley. We should get Chad Hurley on the show.
Remember when Philip DeFranco hosted Gary Johnson?
No.
I think it was Gary Johnson, was it? He did a big thing with YouTube election night where they had like Gary Johnson come in. YouTube knew at that point, like back then, that they were an alternative space to the mainstream, and they reveled in it. Now YouTube is the mainstream, and they're scared of losing the position, so they're banning whoever or whenever. They did a big purge recently of what they called like QAnon or conspiracy channels. Not all of them were, but they don't have the voice or the PR ability to do anything about it. So smaller channels, smaller accounts are getting nuked every day. So when they could ban someone who's moderately big, and then it creates a big uproar, then they go, okay, you know, oops, it was a mistake, and then they keep doing the same thing.
Yeah,
they're just trying to avoid the controversy.
Yeah, I've been posting more videos to my YouTube channel. That's been going well, but yet there's always this nagging thought in the back of my mind. It's like, how much investment should I really put in this?
Go all the way.
I am going all the way. I'm going full blown Jack Murphy Live on YouTube. It's a lot of fun, and the videos have been very well received. Tim's audience has been tremendous. kindness in coming by.
Yeah, everybody loves you,
and
man.
leaving
Yeah,
support.
dude.
They all say, Tim sent me.
They
My
love your
mom likes
beard,
you.
Tim sent me.
and they love
Well, I
Tom
mean, you're
Segura.
saying-
That's true.
You're sending
We
them.
got to get Jack and Tom Segura in the room.
Yes,
Why
we
is that?
do.
Because
They
of
look
beard
so
thing?
They
much
look
alike.
really similar,
Similar
yes.
bone structure. Their voices are
Every
similar.
other comment is about Tom Segura.
Segura.
Tom, I
Who
have,
is
no,
he?
I have no idea who you are, dude, but
is he?
everybody in Tim's comments
one of
thinks that we
Rogan's
look alike.
Gotta meet
Oh.
you.
Good,
Yeah.
good friends.
No.
Married to Christina P.
Oh,
They have
cool.
Your Mom's House is
Must
their
be a
is their
swell
show.
guy.
Check out Your Mom's House
So this
on YouTube.
is interesting about the Joe Rogan thing with the cancel culture stuff is that they Spotify has an email that got leaked to BuzzFeed where they said we're not going to like take action against this channel because they hosted a guest. It's like on their own show. You know, Spotify saying we can't do anything
Good.
about it. And they said sometimes people might actually want to flag violations of our community guidelines, but this show does not violate those guidelines. So don't just flag things because of what you heard in the press.
Oh, so did the Alex Jones interview go out on Spotify?
Yeah.
No. It
Yeah,
did.
yeah, of
Oh, it went
course.
out on Spotify. Well, you
I mean,
say,
I'm-
you say
I'm-
of course, but they like didn't load up the back catalog of those.
I guess
episodes.
Joe said that was because they were corrupted. The files were corrupted, which I know it sounds
know,
really
weird,
weird,
right?
right?
especially episode 911.
Oh,
Really?
snap.
Yeah,
Was that
the first Alex Jones episode was Joe Rogan 911.
Oh, what
So
was
it
he
was
talking
9/11,
about?
9/11. That was when they.
I
Just
would
launched
love to
into
go
all the
so deep on
conspiracy
9/11 because I have a lot of information about the conspiracies of 9/11, the
I've-
nanothermite and other
No.
crazy.
I've read so much
Crazy
about it, and I
stuff.
think a lot of the problem with online conspiracy stuff is that, and this is what I've said about Alex Jones, if you connect, like imagine you have a big connect the dots puzzle picture, and there's like 10,000 dots. And if you connect them in the proper order, it's an elephant. Hey. But if it's a bunch of random dots and you start connecting them, you could draw an alligator.
Yeah.
A really crude one, but you'd be like, it was an alligator the whole time. And it's like, no,
Dun,
look,
dun,
look at the
dun.
other things. You didn't connect the dots.
I don't know how much we're allowed to talk about 9/11 on YouTube and stay monetized.
None at
I
all.
just don't
Not
at
at
all.
all.
Yeah, I never have.
Not at all. Yeah, you bring it up,
can't.
it's instant
That's
demonetization.
crazy.
Yeah,
Because they actually have a specific category for discussing modern acts of terror.
Yeah, and it's
Yep.
like it was the instigation for this entire war in the Middle East.
We're not talking about 9/11.
That's right,
No,
Ian.
I didn't even bring it up.
No, no.
I worked there at Ground Zero. On the
Wow.
I was 10 feet away from the pile. I didn't walk up on it because I didn't have
I
clearance.
heard Donald Trump was down there.
He totally was.
And there was like, yeah, he was. It's funny because they try and claim it's false, I guess. They do this thing with fact checking where they're like, Donald Trump claims that he was on the ground shortly after the 9/11 attacks occurred with a big bucket of chocolate ice cream. And then you're like, wait. And there's a picture of him down there. But then they're like, he actually wasn't there. And it's like, well, there's a picture of him down there.
Right.
I don't know what the actual story is. Like he was helping or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
Britney
the-
Spears came down and
So the
played.
official story on the Spotify, not migrating the older Alex Jones episodes, was that the files were corrupted.
I think that's what Joe said.
and Gavin too.
I think Joe said that the files were corrupted. To be fair, there are often times that we stream and like for some reason the recording
yeah,
corrupts.
dude. It's annoying.
And then we'll try to go to YouTube to download it and it's grayed out and I can't do anything about it. And then I'll try to like the video will play the full 2 hours and then I'll go to like one of these YouTube downloading sites and try and download it and it won't work. So what I have to do? I have to screen capture the whole show and let it play because it's there, the file's there. It won't let me download it. I'll say this, it happens. You know, we've had that problem. You can tell because we've had a bunch of episodes that were like really low res.
True.
Because we had a recording error where for some reason it was not recording properly. We had to fix it. So
me.
it's true. This could have happened to Joe. The only issue is that it was like very specific people who like didn't make it.
Yeah.
But look, I think I got sent an email from actually a couple people are pointing out that Joe Rogan's guest list, like all of a sudden Alex Jones disappeared from it. And they were like, it's Spotify. They're coming after him. And then he had Alex Jones on.
Right.
And now they're all mad about it, and he did what he was planning on doing. I don't know. He's gonna host who he wants to host.
Maybe there were
whatever.
more corrupted files too. I didn't really get the full disclosure where they're like tons, were like 30, 40, 50 episodes, and then Alex was one of them,
Yeah.
and Gavin was one of them. I don't know.
I don't know. I wonder if we had Enrique Tarrio on this show, and I was wondering. I was like, are they gonna ban me? Are they gonna be like, oh no, he's platforming these guys? I'm like, I don't care because look, I have my limits, I suppose. I'm sure we'll find them when it happens. But I think if someone's extremely relevant to the conversation, we talk to them about it.
Yeah.
And it was absurd to me that the journalists were saying, don't interview the Proud Boys. I'm like, first of all, let me tell you something. I'm an American.
Yes.
I thought this was America.
You know what
That's
happens
right.
when you come to me and tell me not to do something?
Guess what?
There's this really great
This
story.
is our space. Leave.
There's
Romantic for 4.
Yeah.
There's this really great story. Check it out. where some dude, his friend, put a Trump sign in his yard to mess with him because the guy was like not super political. And then so the guy was just like, I don't feel like moving it. My friend put it in to kind of screw with me because he knew like, oh, you got a Trump flag. But then the city came and we're like, take that flag, that sign down. And he was like, what? And so he put up like 30 of them.
Oh my God. Exactly
He
right.
was like, you tell me what it...
Exactly right.
He said, I never care about the sign in the first place, but you come to me and tell me what to do, and I'm going to do the opposite.
Look, Tim, I want to give you kudos, man. I think it's a great idea to have people on from both sides of the aisle. I think it's a great idea to have people on that don't agree with you. I think it is an intellectual necessity to ask, inquire, and try to understand people who think differently than you do. So good for you, dude. I really appreciate that.
But you know, the other thing too is, like, if you think you don't need to hear the other side's arguments,
yeah, then you're the douchebag.
well, you're that's arrogant, dude. Because I tell you this, I think it's true that the left's got some things right, the right's got some things right. Right now, I just think the left has got most of it wrong.
Yeah,
and so it changes. I remember back during Occupy, when, like I mentioned the story about the cops throwing the National Lawyers Guild against the car. In that instance, the National Lawyers Guild guy was innocent. The cops were seriously violating his rights. I've seen stuff like that happen before. Today, the National Lawyers Guild is overtly defending one ideology that are targeting the police and throwing bricks and Molotovs. And it's like, I hear from a lot of journalists, they're like, you know, I have friends who are still reporting and they're like, the cops are still doing these things. And I'm like, dude, you can't for 50 nights. I think it was 36 or 38 when they kept going to the federal court building and breaking in, and then complain the cops are arresting you and trying to clear the area. If you're walking down the street on a night of protest and the cops arrest you, by all means, I respect your right to complain, and, you know, depending on the circumstances. But after 38 nights and you bring a blowtorch to cut a lock, you're like, but the police are trying to arrest journalists now. It's like, or are they just like, it's been 38 nights and we've got to put an end to this?
Yeah.
Like, there are limits. There's reasonable, limits or whatever. But I think things change. You know, the early 90s cancel culture was very much a right-wing thing, you know, shutting down the rappers, explicit labels and all that stuff. And we talked about
Twisted Sister.
the religious moral authoritarians. And now it's the left.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, if you don't listen to this other side, I think it's a fear thing that you might actually find out that your worldview has holes in it.
Totally.
Or
you'll get rewired or something. You're teaching the kids bad information.
There are certainly things that, like, you know, we could bring in someone that could say something really, really awful for sure. But I mean, look, you got to have
charismatic way.
You have to have mental fortitude.
Right.
And so I'll say this. If you have blind spots, you need someone to challenge you so you can figure out what those are. Steel manning better than straw manning. So a steel man argument is when you take the strongest argument from your opponent and go after it, as opposed to a straw man, which you can knock down very easily.
And also, you need to know your enemy. Not that people on the other side of the aisle are your enemy, but it's like Sun Tzu Art of War stuff. Know thy enemy. If you want to win a war, you got to know what they think, how they think, where they are, what they're going to do.
And I'll say one more thing. Imagine you're like lifting weights, you're trying to get ripped, and you're like, I'm going to use smaller weights today. That'll help. It won't.
Right.
It won't. Talking to the same people, the same opinions, and never being challenged is like trying to lift weights, but you're going smaller instead of bigger.
Yeah.
Bring on those challenges.
I again, kudos for that. I've tried to do the same. I invited a Democrat onto my show, and we had the interview, and it was fantastic, and I was really excited to release it. It was a different perspective to mine, but we found some common ground. And I got a phone call from him, panicked later, and he's like, dude, you can't release it. Don't release it.
What?
Don't release it, because he was afraid that the people around him in his universe were going to cancel him for appearing on I didn't know it was a right wing.
Did you release it?
Right. No, I did not release it. I'm itching to release it because it's so good.
I think you're obligated to release it.
I don't think so.
Well, maybe you can.
How do I disrespect my guests like that? I can't.
I think I have a different perspective from you. If I brought someone in here, they were like, I want to be on your show, I'll do your show. And then later we're like, no, I don't. I'll be like, no, dude.
Did it?
I dedicated my time to you. I made you guarantees. I gave you a space. You spoke. You got scared later. You can't put me out like that.
I feel that. I read the book. I spent 15 hours prep. I was very detailed.
And you don't know if anything's actually going to happen. He's just freaking out, and
Could
it's
be
not
awesome.
fair to you. Like, there's two pieces of this equation.
I agree. But I also want to be able to invite other people on the show too.
But so what's the argument then? Like, some guy says, I once, did you invite him, or did he
I invited him.
So I was once invited to a show I agreed to be on and spent time on, and then later regretted doing it, and he published it. People are going to be like, then just don't go on the show.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just the pleaser.
I mean, we're
in me.
live, so I mean, like, once you're in the chair, you're in the chair, and like, everybody can see you.
This is something that I talked about with friends and advisors. Like, should I release it? Should I release it? And what they said to me was like, look, you want to be able to invite other people on the show. You want people to know that you treat them fairly. You want to be respectful to these other people. Yes, it was disrespectful to me. It wasted a lot of my time and energy.
But you have an agreement, and you didn't change the terms of that agreement.
I did not. And it also just feeds into this culture, right? It just feeds into this fearful culture. We could have been an example of like how to have communication across the aisle in a productive way and find common ground. I think finding the common ground might have been the part that scared him the most.
I think you're obligated to put it up.
I think you should talk to him and get him to agree to put it up.
I tried to
put it up.
circle back a month later.
I take offense to that. You don't have to. You don't have to. He doesn't have to. He already agreed to do your show. He did your show, and you did work and took time out of your life to get it done. And now he's coming back to you with regret, saying, "No, don't."
Yeah.
No. The agreement was made. The conditions were met. We did it. It's done. It's going up. You can't. After all of that, like imagine someone comes to you and says, I want you to spend, a week building me a doghouse. And then as soon as you do it, they walk up and say, nah, I'm going to knock it over and destroy it. You're like, whoa.
Tim's bullying me into releasing this podcast.
Listen. Imagine a culture where every single time you did an interview, afterwards they went, no.
Yeah.
How many? This would be like a kind of protest sit-in where they would be like, "Hey, Jack, I'll come on your show." They'll do it and say, "Now don't release it because I don't want you to."
Right. My mistake was that I sat on it. I recorded it like 2 days before COVID, like before the NBA games got called and all that. So like the conversation in the world just changed, and so we were just like, I'm just like, all right, let me just wait to the right time.
Well, maybe it's irrelevant now.
Oh no, it's an evergreen issue.
I don't like. I once was standing on the street in Berkeley. And I was filming. I have a GoPro and a gimbal that I would, walk around. This is a really cool thing, great steady shot. And I was talking about what was going on when all of a sudden this woman started just interrupting me because I was saying things like, so I'm here, Berkeley, we just saw a bunch of Trump supporters. And then she started talking and started saying things. And so then holding the camera, I turned and faced her and she kept going. And then I interviewed her for several minutes. And then she noticed the camera and she kept going. And I was like asking her questions and all that stuff. She said something about like the Trump supporters deserve to get hit because they're coming here and they know what to expect.
What?
And then I said, so that's kind of like saying the woman deserved it because she was wearing a skimpy outfit. And then she like agreed in some way. The video's up on my channel. And then after we finished talking, I walked away. She came up to me and she goes, don't use any of that. And I was like, don't use any of what? And she's like, you were filming me when I was talking. And I was like, yes, I'm standing on a public street. I was talking. You interrupted me. You started saying things. I asked you questions. Now you don't want me to use it. I was like, you interrupted me. And she was like, no, but you can't. And for obvious reasons, she was going to get annihilated. I blurred her face, but I used it.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't want to destroy someone's life, but that was a compromise that I did not need to make. If you come up to me on the public street and interrupt me while I'm filming, I could just use it. But I wanted to be nice. I didn't want to create any problems, so I blurred her face and then let it ride. In this instance, however, I was like, if someone agreed and said, I'm going to come and do an interview, and then later was like, please don't publish it. You know what? I actually had this happen. I did an interview with a guy who said he was a former Hezbollah, and this was in Sweden. Wow. He had scars, and he talked about a lot of crazy things. And then afterwards, it was edited and went live, and then he asked me to take it down. And I said no. And he was like, you don't understand. It's going to put people in danger. I'm like, bro, it's up. It's done. I was like, you did the interview. We just put it up. It's done. It's over.
All right. I'm going to give this some thought. I mean, people have gone through my podcast list, and I left a gap. It goes number 29 to number 31.
Ooh.
It's there.
I do have a thought, if I may, before we go to Super Chats, which we are going to do, I think, in a minute.
Do it.
So,
Tell me.
I think what might happen if you end up not going through with this and not putting up this podcast is that people will use it to stall you out. If they don't like you, they're going to be like, I'm going to take this man's time. I'm going to waste his time, man.
It's like a sit-in.
Yeah, I don't like it. Like, what's the point of that? Like,
yeah, so I do them all. Timcast IRL inspired. I do them all live on YouTube now.
Heck yeah,
there you
man.
go.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, super chats, man.
Yes.
People
Do it. I
ask
love the
questions.
super chats. That's
Me
the
too.
best
Well, when you
part.
do it live, you get actual
it's
sense of
amazing.
interaction.
I love it.
I'm just going to ask this question right now because
it.
it's right in front of me. Jack Coyle says, what is your opinion on the Killdozer incident?
Oh, snap.
Killdozer.
You don't know.
So cool.
You guys don't remember
I
Killdozer?
know
I love
the
Killdozer.
term, but I couldn't.
So some guy, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna give you I barely remember the story.
Oh man.
Some guy had like his own business.
We're gonna Google
I forgot what it was. And then the city says, we're gonna start building this thing next to your business, and it shut down the road. He complained saying like, you're destroying my business. And they said, screw yourself. And so he built the Killdozer, which was this giant bulldozer armored. And then he started driving around rampaging. I think he destroyed the dude's house with and they were shooting. They couldn't do it. They couldn't penetrate it. They couldn't stop him. And then he ended up getting, what's up?
He's peeing in the corner. Sorry.
The cat?
The cat's peeing in the corner. I'm afraid.
No,
Throw the Antifa water
it.
bottle.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a protest. It's an Antifa protest now.
I had to use the Antifa tech.
That freaking cat.
Sorry.
I can't believe he did that while I was telling the
I was
Killdozer
making
story.
faces.
That was really
Oh
intense.
man. Okay. Let's try this again.
We got to get the spritz bottle.
Yeah, we do.
What a
I
little
was like,
jerk.
I don't have a
You know what?
spritz.
You know why he's doing it? It's because it's getting close to dinner time for
Yeah,
him, and
he's
he's pressing
hungry.
his luck.
I
He knows
get
that
it.
forces us to get up and go after him.
Bucko, you son of a...
Son of a biscuit. Son of a biscuit.
Anyway,
Kitty
the
cat.
dude ended up falling into a basement, I guess, and getting trapped. And then
In the Killdozer.
yeah, I think he may have killed himself.
Here's a story if you want to read it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a crazy story, guys.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Summary.
Marvin John Heemeyer
Mm-hmm.
was an American welder and an automobile muffler repair shop owner who demolished numerous buildings with a modified bulldozer in Granby, Colorado on June 4th, 2004.
Colorado, man.
Yeah. Heemeyer had feuded with Granby town officials, particularly over fines for violating city health ordinances, when he chose to improperly dump sewage from his business instead of connecting to the city's sewer system. His feud came to a head on June 4th, 2004. Over about 18 months, Heemeyer had secretly modified a Komatsu D355A bulldozer by adding layers of steel and concrete intended to serve as armor. He used this to demolish Granby Town Hall, the
Yep.
former mayor's house, and several other buildings. Heemeyer's rampage concluded with his suicide after his bulldozer became trapped in the basement of a hardware store he had been in the process of destroying. So it was a zoning dispute. They say that he purchased 2 acres of land. The federal agency organized to handle the assets of the failed savings and loan associations for $42,000 to build a muffler shop. He subsequently agreed to sell the land to Cody Dochev to build a concrete batch plant. According to Susan Dochev, Heemeyer changed his mind and increased the price, then a deal with approximately $1 million. Some believe that this negotiation happened before the rezoning proposal. In 2001, Granby's zoning commission and trustees approved the construction of the concrete plant. Heemeyer unsuccessfully appealed the decision, claiming the construction blocked access to his shop. He was subsequently fined $2,500 by the town council and a city judge for various violations, including not being hooked up to the sewer line. So it looks like the initial framing was wrong. He had initially been unable to connect to the new sewer line as the line ran 60 feet away from his property, and the city expected him to pay the nearly $80,000 cost of laying the connector. After the concrete plant was built, the city council denied him the easement necessary to join to the new line underneath. So,
I recommend
took-
Count Dankula's video.
oh, he's got a video on it.
He
A
does.
mad lad,
It's wonderful.
Killdozer.
Oh man.
We were supposed to be doing super
Anyway,
chats.
yes, that was a strong start.
But, so yeah, he went
Yikes.
on a rampage because
Dude.
Well, I think he agreed to something that he took his agreement, reneged on the agreement afterwards, just like your guest. Kind of
Yeah, I mean, I'm just
example of
saying,
why not
yeah,
to
don't renege.
make an agreement and then take it back.
The other cat's coming for their turn
No.
now.
She's chased him out of here.
Oh no.
All right, now let's read some of these super chats. Let's see, we got David Merwin says, Tim, you rock. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fractal says, please get Alex Jones on your show. That would be incredible.
He's actually been coming up a lot lately.
we might,
trying, man.
we might,
Talking to his producer.
I don't know if it's going to happen, but I was like, when I saw, we had Vosh on, I had a bunch of right-wing people being like, how dare you? And we got, I think, 15% thumbs down from people, because most people who watch the show are like, you know, chill and willing to hear, but some people didn't like it, and I respect it. You don't have to like it, it's fine. But a lot of people were tweeting at me saying things like how dare you and stuff like that. Then so that happened, and I don't care. But then I saw what was happening with Alex Jones, and I'm like, isn't that so funny? You know, it's like, not like we're as big as Rogan or anything, but Rogan gets attacked by the left for Jones, and I get flack from the right for Vosh. And I thought it was hilarious. So I was like, bring it on, Alex, come on the show. Just come on in. We're going to go with it. We're going to go with it. And then it might actually happen.
Sick.
I don't know when or whatever.
I hope so.
But I'm
Election night.
I'm
sure
down.
he-
I wish.
It's gonna be
That would have been
busy.
awesome
Does
if he was
Alex
here.
special appearance?
Nah,
Election
but
night.
I already talked to
he's
him.
far
I
away. He's
can't.
got to do his own show.
Yeah, sorry.
That'd be so funny if he just popped in.
It'd be really fun.
Kiernoth says, thanks for the podcast. Would have been great to have Jack Murphy on for yesterday's show.
True. I like Jack.
You want to debate an Antifa?
Oh, that'd be fun.
We
Yeah.
should. We
could
should
do
totally
it.
do it.
Let's
Yeah,
do
man.
it.
I mean, Vosh is not the colloquial understanding of Antifa.
He's
you know what I
nice.
mean? So I don't want to say, he's Antifa.
Did he come in with the pink gas mask on? Because that
Yeah.
is
All
the-
black. He had a
yeah.
water bottle and he was lurking around and we were like, Vosh.
Come
And he was
on,
like,
man.
you got me. And then, no,
Slowly
he
put the bat
came
down.
like a normal
Yeah.
guy with normal clothes.
He's
And like,
awesome.
I think it's silly how, apprehensive people are about, it's like, oh no, he has other opinions. Oh,
He's like a
help.
political philosopher that he talked about like a child porn and was like, okay, people ignore the child slavery in Africa where they're mining rare earth minerals to make our cell phones and stuff. And he was like, okay, if you're going to turn a blind eye to that, then child porn should be fine. If you're going to exploit children
So
in that venue,
well,
then I'll exploit
I'll-
children in this venue. What's the difference?
I'll put it this way.
I
They
explained
put
that
up
kind of poorly.
They put up a clipped video where he's only saying the last part, like this should be moral and acceptable. And his explanation was he was basically saying the child exploitation of kids in mines is as bad. And, so like, why are we okay with reaping the benefits of this? And
Good
then all of a
question.
sudden these people started sharing the clip saying there's no contextual defense of this. I didn't see the video. I didn't watch his stream. So I'm not saying that to defend him. I'm just saying that's what his explanation
He's a
was.
philosopher. He really is. And philosophers get a lot they killed Socrates because he would make I'm sure that's just what philosophy is. You
Look,
make
look.
crazy. Continue.
I'm just saying
Yes.
the dude has difference of opinions.
True.
I love
I'm
the guy.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
more than happy to have people, come here and
I
give
would
them.
love a chance to have a
Be
conversation
fun.
where the other guy can't leave
Yes. Do it.
or hit me
Yeah.
with a brick.
Yeah, man. No.
So I got a
water
bunch of
bottles.
people saying that your mic is bad. Your mic is bad. I think we
We
fixed
got
it.
it. We
Oh,
did.
good.
We got it.
Barney Boyle says, I don't resent Vosh because of different views. I resent that he, as you revealed, lives in an echo chamber and condescends people who are better informed than him.
But
well, wasn't it fantastic that we
Fair.
got him out of his echo chamber and had
Heck
a
yeah,
conversation
man.
with
And he
him?
acknowledged he's in an echo chamber. He's like, I'm in some
For
far
sure,
left
but
circles, man.
and the truth is, we're in an echo chamber too. If all of our
True.
guests are always of similar,
That's
way
why we
of
brought
thinking.
him in, man.
Hey, I voted for Obama.
Whoa,
Me
whoa,
too.
whoa.
But it's like we have a lot of former liberals and we have a lot of conservatives,
Yeah.
and it's like we all easily get along. The funny thing is, 20 years ago, it would have been like, wow, can you believe they're bringing on the left and the right? It's like crossfire. Now it's like we all kind of mostly agree,
Yeah. Well, it is the cool kids club. So.
That's correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
The coolest kids.
Out here at the Combo Castle.
You
That's
like
right.
video
Combo
games,
Castle,
you're
man. Yeah, man. That's a requirement.
Magic is coming up next.
Sure
Oh,
is.
yeah.
I brought a deck. Is that what you call it?
Oh yeah. You ever played D&D?
Oh, yes. Back in the
Oh,
day.
snap.
Yeah, Vosh is a DM.
Oh, never
Yeah.
mind. I hate D&D.
If Antifa likes it.
I know.
So Javi J says, when you move your van down by the river, make sure you start a fishing journal.
Mm-hmm.
Need to know what and when they are biting. Let's see.
Isn't there there's a lesson in that comment, actually. I remember the video that you made when you're like, it was literally down in the forest. You're like, I'm over all this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. If you did actually do that, you may have an uncontrollable urge to express yourself. It would just be about the environment that you're in.
It'd be
You
fun.
I'd
might-
be making
might
a
actually
video
happen.
and I'd be like, everybody, today I was down. You're not going to believe this. This is crazy. There was a fish. Can you
What?
believe these
What?
fish? And this one fish, get out of here. And then a
Fishy.
beaver shows up. You know the crazy? I once saw beavers in Chicago. It was the craziest thing. By Lake
what?
Michigan.
Oh really?
Yeah, no, it's like the lakefront is fake. It's fake sand and it's concrete.
Yeah.
So I was in an area by there's like this golf thing and it was concrete and they're just beavers walking along the edge of the concrete and I was like, what are those beavers doing here? I guess they live there.
I
don't know.
spent 20 seconds watching a beaver eat lettuce on Twitter yesterday.
Dude.
It was
Love it.
It was really good.
Excellent use of time.
Look
love
it up. It's,
I
it's
love
high
it. I'll
quality.
look it up.
Oh nice.
I'll look it up, man.
Can't believe I just admitted that.
I'm glad
So-
you did.
Johan Oldman says, Tim, you should have Vosh on again, but this time with James Lindsay too.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or Chris
Has
Russo. that'd be
James
fun.
been up here?
Someday.
No, but I
Busy
mean,
man.
He's a great guy. Great
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Did a spot on my show a while back before the book came out.
Not
Great
fair.
Guy. Great guy.
First of all, not fair.
All right.
I've had some good guests.
Brian Barton says, I'm from Eastern PA. We have always been Trump, except Philly. There is Trump rallies every week on the Susquehanna Bridge. Is that how I pronounce it? In Lancaster.
Yeah.
Susquehanna?
I'm sorry, Lancaster. Is that Lancaster?
Lancaster. There we
Yeah.
go.
The Lehigh Valley has been and will continue to be a key component to Trump's reelection. It was a key component in 2016. That's why I went there, interviewed people in there. Lehigh Valley, we're counting on you. Get out the boat.
This is cool. Big Megatech says, hey, Tim, there's a Flash game called We Are What We Behold. where you act as the news in a world of circle people and square people. You play the game by inciting violence between the two factions. You think reality sometimes parodies fiction.
Interesting.
You sell them the guns, and then you fund the people rebuilding.
Acoustic Theory says cop chopters.
Cop chapters.
Cop chapter. Yes.
Thank you for that super
chapters.
chat. Best super chat ever. Cop chapters.
Yeah, man.
Chapters.
Cop chapters.
Let's get started.
Aaron Freeman says, have you seen the Decade of Health video played on Channel 4 in UK? Has Bill Gates Foundation in the credits.
Oh, snap.
It's the Great Reset Agenda 2030 right here. Really, really creepy.
Interesting. What's it called?
Decade of Health.
Cool. I'll look it up.
Owl Aquatic says, how often does Jack dye his beard?
Never. Why would I dye it like this?
That's fair.
When did it become that color?
So one night I woke up and boom, it was there. I swear to God, it happened overnight. I see pictures and it's all red and brown, just like the front. One day, bam.
Dude, that's epic.
But wait, like, doesn't the hair have to like go somewhere? And
I
then
don't know
regrow?
what happened. It really happened.
you see a ghost?
Very quickly?
Yes.
And
Only
it
on the
hasn't-
sides, though?
It hasn't progressed at all. It just stayed just like
So
this.
cool.
Something about the consciousness, like the vibration of what we
Yep.
are. When you're living your honest self, you become like really in tune with the matrix, and it's like
probably
creating
it.
a physical manifestation of it.
Absolutely what Ian said.
Yes, exactly. what Ian said.
Lemon Dropcake says, please invite Laura Loomer. She has been deplatformed more than any of your past guests. Thanks for your video about her and her campaign. This is what I said on Twitter. And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful, relevant to the current conversation. So it's like, there's a ton of people I could invite. People are mentioning some America First people, like the Gropers and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just saying, the people we invite, like Enrique Tarrio, was because it just came up in the news and we're like, we got to get this guy. But that being said, I'm not saying no to these people, definitely. I think Laura Loomer is particularly relevant right now, especially with her campaign, because Donald Trump just voted for her.
I mean, that blew my mind. I mean, look, I met Laura when she had like 1,500 followers, was working for James up in New York at Project Veritas, and she was itching to get out there and go big and do things. And just 4 years later,
Massive.
4 years later, she's in the situation where she's so punk rock now, like by hijacking the system, that actually has Donald Trump literally
Voting for her.
literally voting for her to go to
Amazing.
Congress. That is incredible.
Well, to be fair, we don't know for sure, but
straight Republican.
right, exactly. He's not going to vote for the Democrat, and she was
Nope.
the nominee. So
There it is.
Trump just and if what county was Trump in? What district was that?
I don't remember the name
I don't
exactly.
but it includes Broward, doesn't it? It's not gonna go red.
oh,
maybe.
I don't know about that.
Maybe.
Populism,
Yeah.
powerful force.
Yeah. All right, here we go. What is this? Foxcoon says Tucker just tweeted, "Damning Hunter Biden documents suddenly vanish."
That's what I heard.
What is that?
I haven't been able to confirm that, so I didn't say anything.
Pull up on your phone.
Okay, let me see what I can find.
Yeah. Isaac and Baraka says, Jack, good to see you on as always. Love what you do.
Thank
Yesterday's live chat was more annoying than the guest.
Oh my gosh,
As fans, we represent the work of the host. I learned more about Vosh from his fans than from Vosh himself.
Interesting.
Yeah, you do have a real whole sort of community there in the comments, man.
It was so
Yeah.
cool to see Vosh's community and your community
Clashing.
Yeah, or like just
I love it when they were
melding.
like, he just owned Tim. Oh, and there's videos popping up from the left Twitter where they're like, Tim Pool destroyed. And it's like, the
Right.
weird thing about all of that is like, I'm welcoming these people in. I'm not worried. It's like, I'm not approaching this like, oh no, I've been defeated. I'm just like, whatever.
see,
man. I
like,
don't know. I'm not the smartest guy.
I
in the
liked
world.
Vosh, and now I like Tim. Like I'd see comments
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It was awesome.
That's neat.
You know, there's most people, most regular people are just like, I disagree with this guy. Because people say to me all the time, they're like, Tim, I really disagree with you, but I think you do good work.
So
And-
I get that all the time too.
So the background on the Tucker thing is that he did just put a bit out. I don't have a piece of like news for you,
Oh.
but we got a bit from him. And then if you guys want to go look it up, do it. Check it out. I'm really curious.
Addicted to Drum says, interview Gavin McInnes, Tim. Let him tell his story.
That'd be fun.
Maybe.
Would
Like,
be.
like I said, we try to book the big... So many people may have realized we have a couple different kinds of shows. When Jack's here, it's kind of we hang out and talk. When Seamus is here, we kind of just hang out and talk. Like recurring guests coming and chilling. And then we have like stronger interview guests.
Where like you and him talk, you and them talk, or whoever he or she, and I usually sit silent during those.
Well, it's kind of just because they get really, really
Usually.
serious and really intense, you know?
Technical.
So like
Yeah,
Enrique
you're digging.
Tarrio, he starts saying things and it's like, okay, this is like very, very heavy stuff. And so we've only done a couple of these, but like the goal
James
is...
O'Keefe was a good one.
Yeah, James O'Keefe, man, that was great.
Amazing.
That was amazing. And so, yeah, when we have these like, you know, big players who are coming in and they're going to say things that are going to have actual weight on the political world,
Yeah.
you know, then it's like they're very serious. And then we have kind of chill hangout guests who might show up and we just talk and, you know, do whatever. So, you know, we'll see.
And here I thought I was the serious one.
You are the serious one. You are the serious one.
Here we go. Take Video says Kyle Kalinske would be a great guest.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
That'd be
Kyle would be
great.
fantastic. Kyle's a good dude. I love his tweets are funny, man. I don't know if you saw like his tweets during the debates, but I can't remember what he said. It was something about Biden, and then he posted that vaporwave meme and it says "stab me in the balls" with a pencil. Like that's like the debate was awful. Kyle's a good dude. Matt Mitchell says Tucker Carlson tweeted that a copy of their Hunter Biden documents were mysteriously stolen without a trace while they were in transit to him across the country.
What were those
Snap.
landed?
It's getting spicy.
Oh, yeah. Torin Danowski says, I'm in Philly. Get out of my city thing is like being at an Eagles game as an opposing fan. The only response is, F off, I live here. You live in South Jersey. Peak hysterical fanboy. With
That reminds me, are you going to leave the city?
I am definitely leaving the city. I've lived in Washington, D.C. 30 years. I literally built the city, built buildings, built schools, built institutions. My kids were born there, went to school there. My only hometown. The only tattoo I ever considered was a D.C. flag. And now I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, there's
Peace
houses
out.
around here. Hopefully,
All right, let's see.
you buy one of them.
Undisclosed combo castle location.
Correct.
do it.
Paul Levy says, Tim, did you see the bill introduced in Scotland that talks about hate speech around the table must be prosecuted? That's pretty crazy. Wait, what?
Oh, what?
That's creepy.
Yeah.
Grandpa said a racist thing. Call the police. Carlos Cruz says the problem isn't the attachment of their ego to a certain framework, but instead their attachment of the idea of an ego. XXXYYY says, voting for Trump is akin to me being a huge Marilyn Manson fan in the 90s or 2000s.
Yeah.
Listen to Manson's speeches from his concerts. Same energy,
Yep.
same media hatred, moral panic,
funny.
deplorables in society. The right protested me then. Free speech, left protests me now.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
funny.
Marilyn
Marilyn
Manson.
Manson fans for Trump.
Yep, definitely. He's a big 2A guy.
He is.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We got to get him on then.
I mean, can I come that day?
Yeah, of course.
All right, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Ashley Fuller says, Tim, what do you think of Trump's executive order creating Schedule F in the accepted service? It really wasn't covered in the media. What is that? Do you know what that is?
No.
I don't know. Don't know. I am uninformed.
Send a link next time.
Yeah, man. Come on.
Patterus Rex says, Tim, I live outside of Bexar County, and seeing this here so close to me scares me, but all I can do is share the videos and talk to people. And the X in Bexar is silent, so it's pronounced Bear.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Bear County. Thank you for what you do. That's a James O'Keefe stuff, where the lady's like, I can deliver you votes
That
for...
is crazy.
Yeah, dude.
You did a video on that today, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is
And yesterday,
nuts.
where she's on the phone and the guy's like, how much? And she's like, $55,000. How many votes will you get me? And he's like, I want them all top ticket Hunter, I'm sorry, all top ticket Hagar Biden. And she's like, 5,000 votes, $55,000. And then later in the video, this is from Veritas, by the way, the guy's like, so you're getting this like 55 grand for 5,000 votes. He goes, shut up, don't say it. You're making me paranoid. And now she's trying to claim I was stinging them.
Uh-huh.
No, you weren't. You got caught.
Give me a break.
Good morning, Sunday morning.
Oh, no.
Good morning, Sunday morning says, I know a Philly cop who told me the mayor and police commissioner told him not to arrest looters tonight.
Oh, snap.
I mean, normally I wouldn't be like, confirmed, Super Chat says it, but I believe it. I do.
I mean, they called in the National Guard allegedly yesterday, and they were nowhere to be seen. They were supposed to be on site today. Were the National Guard on the streets in Philly? Good question.
Don't know.
Why would they not be there? You know,
Jack Posobiec seems to think that the governor of Pennsylvania has it out for the people and wants to see the destruction.
Oh
Who
my
knows?
God.
Probably correct.
Sung Min Belergian says, hey, Tim, love the content, even with Vosh. Would you be willing to entertain military veterans like Jocko Willink? Is it Willink?
I
Yeah,
love that
Will.
man.
Tim
Please.
Kennedy, Matt Best, Evan Hafer, or YouTuber Angry Cops could give different perspective on events. Well, of course.
Jocko.
Tim and Jocko
But
are
like,
cool.
Oh, my God.
these are people who are largely going to agree with and have a good time with,
Definitely.
Connor says, I'm 23, mixed race, and voted Trump in 2016. Lots of my friends from similar backgrounds and age, even younger, are also voting Trump. Is this demographic and age range really being taken into account, as I've never been polled? Well, they say young people are all going to be voting for Biden, which is the funniest thing to
wow.
me.
I don't think so.
Imagine being a young person and being like, yo, I'm punk rock. Go corporations and political establishment. Yeah.
And this old guy.
Did you see who called Biden the real punk rock? And it was someone I really respected before that. It wasn't
Cringe
Seth
Central,
MacFarlane
dude. What?
or Ricky Gervais, but it was someone like I respect on that level. Do you remember? It was on
Biden
Twitter?
is
Someone was
not
like,
Biden.
He's the real punk.
Biden
rock.
are the stodgy parents from Footloose who are like finally trying to
Seriously?
dance and look cool. Like nah.
I just watched that again the other day with my kids. It holds up.
Footloose?
And the soundtrack is bomb.
I'll have to watch it, dude.
Kenny
You can
Loggins,
dance,
dude.
man.
Kenny Loggins.
You know he did Top Gun soundtrack too.
I did, yeah, I did know that.
Mike Chilson says, Tim,
Only
has Jack heard Biden's corn pop story? I can't stop laughing at it. Thanks for having Jack on again. I really appreciate all of you, all do here on YouTube. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Corn pop?
Of course I have, man. I have my people. They rub things and then it floats in the water.
Oh my gosh.
And then they sit on my lap and I don't even know who they are. You got any more kids? Where are the
man.
kids?
Oh my
12
gosh.
trillion.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Did you know that 300 billion people have died in the last 2
Oh
months?
my
All right,
gosh.
all right,
I
here we
did.
go.
I
Wait, wait.
did.
Someone
All
said,
right, wait,
Tim,
gotta
you said
focus.
Milo was a troublemaker earlier. I keep hearing people say that, but you can inform me on some specific issues. It doesn't get to me. I'm not saying he's like breaking all the rules and deserving of being banned. I'm saying he's a mischievous troll. One of the things he did was he changed his Twitter bio to BuzzFeed reporter or whatever. So they took his verification badge away. Yeah. And then I guess, was it at the White House?
I mean, that's a legit move, right? If you're pretending to be somebody else and you're verified, of course they're going to take it away.
But wasn't it like he went to the White House press corps and he was like, "Why did they take away my verification badge?"
Oh my gosh.
He was a troublemaker.
Yeah.
But it's like there's something inherently wrong with that. It was just he was a troll. You know,
Like he did violate their terms.
He did, yeah.
As far as I know, so his account should have been shut down.
No, the violation was about like piling people on to make fun of some actress.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
That was
the
stupid.
girl from
Ghostbusters or whatever.
Leslie something.
Yeah.
Shift W says, Timcast IRL, would you have Nick Fuentes or Styx on your IRL podcast?
Yes.
Here's what I can say about this. Styx, I know and watch a ton of his videos, so it's really easy for me to be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what we talk about. I don't know enough about Nick. I would say on the surface, I see no reason why not.
Yeah, if he's pertinent, man.
The issue is more so, let me look into Nick and his content. I know a little bit about him, and I've actually had some people hit me up saying, you should talk to him because there's some BS that they pulled to get him banned. So, like, we're getting to that point.
He just tweeted out that he wants to come on today.
We'll check it out. And so I'll say,
Of course he does. Yeah. Who doesn't want to come onto Timcast IRL?
I would be
Sure.
surprised
Yeah,
anyone would.
here's why I say, I'm not
Sensator.
outright just being like, of course, but we've been trying to book Styx for a while. And I don't want to get to the point where everyone's going to send me a list of like why I have to book that person.
Yeah.
Like, well, then book this person, then book this person. It's like, okay.
That's what I do.
Somebody reached out to me about Nick though, and they said that he got banned because they took a clip out of context to accuse him of something.
Man, that's like
or
a
whatever.
rampant thing that's going
Right.
on. That's
Cool, yeah.
Yep.
I don't like it for anyone.
Yep. I'm not a fan of that. So, yeah, we're looking into a bunch of guests, and I'm down to have some like edgy and controversial people. You know what I mean? Like,
Let's do it.
I don't know who's worse than
Vladimir
Alex Jones in terms of like,
Vladimir Putin.
Putin
like the
speaks
most
English.
shocking to the left or whatever. You know.
I don't know.
Let's see what we got here. Sporkwitch says we're still liberals. The left is not.
That's true.
That is right on.
Big facts.
Now you sound like my 13-year-old.
Sorry, I'm sounding a
He
little
does.
young there.
He's like, big facts, Dad.
Big facts. Come on, man. These are big
We got
facts.
some Venezuela information.
Oh, snap.
Little Bear says Venezuela at its peak was doing between 11 and 12% of the United States' entire oil income. After years with Chavez, it dropped down to less than 5%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Chavez nationalized it. Iran did that too, which is what caused all that heat.
Orias Rawfokale says Bucko might be sick. Male cats get bladder issues.
He's a little...
He's been to the vet.
Yep.
And what he does is he comes in when he wants or is angry at us because it's like at 10 o'clock we're supposed to give him food. And we do the shows late. He came in at 9:43.
I think he
I
gets
know,
too
that's
many
really
treats.
rude.
I think
Oh.
he should take his treats
spoiled.
away.
The time
away.
change is
He's
screwing
very
him up.
spoiled. Yeah. He doesn't...
By the way, guys, don't forget to set your
Don't
clocks
forget
back
to-
this weekend.
Is that happening?
Yeah, it is.
That is this
Fall
weekend.
back.
Wait, when is that happening?
Yeah.
This weekend from Saturday to Sunday.
Why'd
Fall
you have
back
to
1
tell
hour.
him?
The
Don't tell
shortest
him.
day of the year, 23-hour day.
Oh, I
No, wow.
don't know if I'm supposed to say anything, but
Longer.
my music video is done.
Oh, when's it going live?
I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything yet because
Okay.
there's like a plan for it.
What genre?
Alternative rock, I guess.
And you are a...
I wrote, sang, and played guitar and the whole song.
Dope.
I have a feeling I did a harmony track, but I don't think it made the final cut.
It's
Do you know if it
really,
did?
it's really good.
Sick.
I'm not gonna pretend like I personally, it's a song I wrote, and I'm like, oh, I like it. I wrote the song.
It's awesome. I don't
Sure.
want to hear. I haven't heard the new.
Like I have nothing
I
to say.
haven't
Like
heard
I
the
don't know.
mixed.
Can't
version.
wait. I did
The
not
story
know.
And
is
we
great,
did
too.
we did a full animation. It's I've played it on the show live before, Will of the People, and it's basically about the cycle of violence in political revolutions that never ends. And so it's like 99.9% done. Nice. And then we're gonna start.
Oh yeah, we should look at it after the show.
Yeah. It's not completely done, so we're gonna get ready for a rollout, and it's coming. Yeah.
There's your next step, dude. Your new career.
Yeah, maybe it gets like 50 billion views, and then I'm just like, wow, I don't got to do this politics thing anymore, huh? And
We'll
I
go
just
music's over
just
here.
buy an infinity pool and live on top of it.
That's the plan. Yeah, fish in the infinity
Paxton
pool.
Johnson says, Tim, please have someone record you skating. Would love some skate footage of you
I was thinking about that
without you
today.
holding the camera and skating at the same time.
Last night when you went barefoot, I was like, oh, that'd be a good video, man.
No,
It was just like
I did
8
a
seconds
rock
of-
to fakie and a fakie tail stall. It
Yeah,
was
but
just like
it looked
7-year-old
cool from
stuff.
where I was standing.
Do a
So
kickflip.
there's a lot of stuff I need to do, but like the ramp is new and I'm trying to get comfortable on it, but it's so great. The guys who built it are like some of the best.
It's
best ever.
amazing.
Yeah,
We
it's
just
so
put the
good.
couch up in the lounge.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so here's what happens. It's a mellower transition that I've been skating. So I've been slipping out on my foot plants. Like you go up, you grab the board, and then jump. Like you dive back in real fast, and then I'm not anticipating the transition properly. So I've never been big on doing crazy skate videos. I did like a video where I did a tray flip or something, and you know. All right, let's see. What do we got here? Are we just about ready to wrap up?
Gotta be. It's time.
Oh, someone said, Chris Chung says, just a heads up, new Alex Jones on Rogan is down right now.
What?
Is that true?
Oh,
I don't know if
I wanna
that's
watch
true.
it
Is that
tonight.
true?
Files are corrupted and they got lost in transport coming across the
So
country.
What a coincidence.
weird, yeah.
Is it down?
I don't know. We're gonna look it up.
Huh.
Yeah, we're gonna look it up after the show.
All right, let's see. Ken W says, yesterday's cast was good. It's nice to hear different views, but I think it went on too long and difficult to pay attention to past the usual 2 hours.
I can see it.
Oh, for sure. Just turn it off.
Yeah,
I think Lydia agrees with you. She was falling
I
asleep
was
at some point.
dying,
wasn't she?
man. It was challenging.
That was awesome.
It was really fun though.
Just turn it off.
I want
themselves.
more 4 hours.
Well,
Get
yeah.
ready. Build that
All right.
fortitude. I want to go late.
Well, I think we're about it's 10:10. We went a little bit over, so
That's fun.
we got
Fun,
some super
fun.
chats in. Jack, I heard you wrote a book.
I wrote a book. Thank you for
Yeah.
asking me
Oh,
about it, Tim.
yeah.
I was wondering. No, Democrats are deplorable. Why 9 million Obama voters ditched the Democrats and embraced Donald Trump on Amazon. Thank you very much. Great support from you guys out there. There's always a nice big pop after I do the show. Thank you.
Heck yeah, man.
I'm really pushing the YouTube channel right now, Jack Murphy Live. I've been putting out videos every week. We've got a good whole new cadre of followers. Gracias of Timcast
Oh, cool.
and Lydia. Thank you very much.
When do you put new videos up?
I usually do them at noon. I'm doing an interview tomorrow at noon with the author of a book called War for Eternity, which is a deep discussion about Bannon, Dugan, and Olavo and traditionalism and its impact on the political sort of sphere of the world. Should be good. And there's always a liminal order, liminal-order.com, all men's organization with the 3 core values of masculinity, brotherhood, and sovereignty. Check it out. Thank you very much.
Did you mention your Twitter?
Twitter at Jack Murphy Live. I for today had 66.6 thousand followers for all of about
Getting
5
secular.
minutes. About 5
Cool.
minutes. So I was
right.
pretty happy we
Election-
moved through that.
Election night is going to be amazing.
Indeed. I can't
We're going to
wait.
have
forward to
every
that.
TV in the house is going to be on with the results live. We're going to have we are cooking Jill Biden's famous
Yes.
chicken parm,
Oh,
I love
God,
chicken
yes.
parm.
and is going to be served at some point when I feel like we've got results. We'll see.
No tears
So
allowed.
But I think
Tears are
24th.
welcome.
Yes, exactly.
I think
No,
it's funny
chilling.
though because if Biden wins, then I'm gonna make people eat Jill Biden. You must eat it. And if he loses, then we all get to like laugh and eat. You know, his wife's
Guacamole.
famous.
Make some
Jebs.
pizzas. You bringing anything?
I remember I'm bringing Red Hen. I'm bringing my girlfriend.
Heck
and
yeah.
I remember mentioning this to you a couple months ago. I'm like, hey, let's do election night show. You're like, yeah, that's a great idea. And every time I come back, every other Wednesday, guys, every time I come back, it's like, oh, this person and this person. Now you're like catering and cooking.
Wow.
It's gonna be
Catering.
great.
Got this.
Yeah, Tim-
I don't know how many people we're gonna have. Maybe like 10 or 15.
I hope it's not
Sweet.
too many. I
I don't know. I don't
Ben
know.
Stewart will be here. Shout out to Ben Stewart.
Everybody will be over here fighting over the mics.
It's true. It's true. Probably that.
But yeah, so we're gonna stream and we're gonna leave the table open.
Nice.
And
chilling hard.
but we're gonna change it probably to a single wide shot.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because we're not gonna have a producer running.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Unless
be
we have a bunch of those Elgatos like
No,
at every
no.
station, that'd be fun for people.
I think it'd just be a wide shot.
I'll be making chicken parm.
You know,
Do
and
it.
because we want people to be able to see the room too, as like people are hanging out and watching and like having a beer and like eating pizza or whatever.
Reaction
So we'll probably have
shots.
like a camera in the back showing like the 3 people who are chilling, And then it might be funny. You might see, you know, some prominent personality walk up the stairs and you're like, oh, it's so-and-so. They might tweet, I'm about to go upstairs and go into the studio.
Oh, snap.
And then Jack's like, I got to hit the John, so you can take my seat. And then people just swap out. And we're just going to have the show on TV.
Yeah.
And it'll be
I
a
want to get
whole
some
lot of fun.
surround sounds setups
CNN.
for downstairs probably. I want to get them anyway, but I'd like to get them before
We
the
can't
3rd.
play the election stuff on this show.
Audio,
We can have
yeah.
the TV in the background and talk about what we're seeing. So it's going to be a kind of just open live stream of the party.
It's crazy that the election. Oh, I guess it's private channels, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
CBS.
That's the
or
issue.
Not
Yeah.
CBS, but
Yeah.
stuff
I
like
mean,
that.
maybe even C-SPAN, they try and get you.
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
Okay.
we'll be back tomorrow live
Sounds
at
fun.
8 p.m. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Parler at Timcast. You can check out my other YouTube channels. I post like all day at youtube.com/TimcastNews and youtube.com/Timcast. Don't forget to subscribe. And you can follow Ian, of course.
Share this video if you like it, and share it if you don't.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's right.
I love it.
Yeah, you can follow me anywhere. Ian Crossland. Look
Yeah.
around Twitter.
And you can also follow Sour Patch
Sour
Lids.
Patch Lids, I'm over here. OIDS.
That's right. So smash that like button. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. as I said, and we'll see you all then.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.